Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk on a Tuesday afternoon. A scorcher in the capital city relative to spring. Beautiful day up on Huntoon Hill at our studios as we bring you 3 hours of sports talk on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And streaming on video, we are live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And we are live on our Facebook page, WIBW News. Greetings and salutations, however you are listening to or viewing today's program. Thanks for being along for the ride. We'll take you up until 6, then a little further with some 580 Sports Talk overtime to 6:30 before Royals baseball on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski starting things off with you. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little bit. Lots to get to on today's show. Plenty of baseball. The Royals start their series in Houston with a win. Little less comfortable than you envision when you take a 7-0 lead after 3 innings, and certainly less comfortable than you envision when you take that 7-0 lead into the 7th inning. You know the old adage, you've heard me say it. Every starting pitcher is cruising right up until they aren't. And that's a little bit what happened to Michael Wacha last night. And then Steven Cruz had his first bad outing of the year. The next thing you know, all of the back-end plus-side guys had to pitch in last night's game. But the Royals finished the deal, 7-5 win. We'll talk about that outing from Michael Wacha. We'll talk about May Michael Massey. It's a real thing.
Michael Massey.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Now you're in the spirit. Michael Massey, once again, showing that all they need to do is flip that calendar from April to May, and he becomes a useful ball player again. We will talk a little bit about that as well. Some other Royals baseball notes. They signed Rich Hill to a minor league contract today. Yes, 45-year-old Rich Hill will be an Omaha Storm Chaser shortly. He will report to Surprise. And also, as Sam Miller of Baseball Prospectus put it on Blue Sky, he will also surprise to report because he is, again, 45 years old.
Hey, man, effective is effective. If he's able to go out there and give you a few innings, why not?
We'll talk through why the Royals have brought aboard a guy who I believe only threw like 5 professional innings in 2024. We will talk about that edition and also talk later on in the show about possible additions from Omaha, not Rich Hill, but players who have been down at AAA. And if anybody down there is beating down the door sufficiently to feel like an upgrade over some of the weaker spots on the Royals' current 26-man roster. So lots of baseball to get to today. Of course, we'll preview Game 2 of the Royals-Astros series tonight. Chris Bubich on the bump as the Royals go for a series win against Houston left-hander Framber Valdez. First pitch at 7:10. Pregame coverage at 6:30 here on 580 WIBW. And FM 104.9. Talk some football today. The news broke right after the show went off the air. So if you hung around for overtime, you heard me talk about it for about 2 minutes before our 580 Sports Talk overtime conversation of the day yesterday. But the Chiefs playing on Christmas again. Ho, ho, ho. More Chiefs football in your stocking. At least it's a night game this time. The Chiefs will be hosting the Broncos on Amazon Prime at 7:15 Central Time on Christmas Day, the 3rd consecutive year that the Chiefs players have to play on Christmas.
Nothing quite like, the sun is set, it's nighttime, chilly night. Maybe it's a white Christmas, and maybe you've got a house where you've got the mounted TV, maybe over a fireplace, and everybody can sit on the couch. And after a fun day of opening toys and spreading good cheer, you can drop a bunch of expletives because somebody dropped a pass on 3rd and 9. On Christmas night. What a great way to spend the holiday.
So, the Chiefs playing on Christmas. I hate it. We'll talk about essentially, and it's not just this. It's also the fact that the Chiefs' first game this year is going to be on a night that we typically use for other things. It will be, they haven't announced it yet. They'll make it official tomorrow. But the Chiefs are going to play the Chargers in week 1 in Brazil on Friday night. And that is also the first Friday night of the Kansas high school football season. So you have that intrusion. You have the Christmas Day intrusion. And my question, and we'll get to it in the 4 o'clock hour, who is this good for? Because I don't think the answer is us. I don't think the answer is the fan, the consumer of NFL football. I don't think it's good for us. I think it's quite bad, actually. So we'll get there in the 4 o'clock hour. Also joining us on the show in the 4 o'clock hour, the great Michael Swain of Fog.net. He'll join us for a little thing we like to call Jayhawk Weekly. That's coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Plenty going on in Jayhawk land, including a big deal commit to the class of 2026 on the gridiron. And it feels like they are very close to adding another impact transfer for basketball for the coming season. So we'll get Michael's thoughts on all of that and everything else going on in Lawrence coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour.
I'm excited for it. Feels like a big week for KU, and I'm not reporting anything or trying to tease you into anything, but yeah, it sounds like if you read the tea leaves, it reads like there's some good news coming to KU basketball. And yeah, Joseph Credit, the linebacker who KU got a commitment from today for the class of 2026. I know he was one of the top prospects, one of the top recruits, targets in KU's upcoming class. They've got their linebackers done. He moves really well. Texas high school football player from a really good program down there. I'm hyped about that. I'm excited to hear what Michael has to say about it.
Looking forward to having Michael Swain on as we do every Tuesday. Plus all the things you come to know and love from a Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll have a jam-packed edition of the 580 Sports Talk headlines, including the big breaking news in the world of baseball just about 10 minutes ago. Major League Baseball announcing that permanent ineligibility ends at death, essentially. So Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and others who were deemed permanently ineligible for Major League Baseball, including induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame, have all been reinstated by Commissioner Rob Manfred. We will get into that in more detail in headlines, but I will tease right now. That sucks. That's garbage. And I'll explain why it sucks and is garbage and why Pete Rose doesn't belong within a country mile of the Hall of Fame, whether it was him walking around or his corpse. They don't belong anywhere near the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about it.
I think it's actually a really cool double whammy between something I don't think they should have done in the first place and also extreme cowardice by Rob Manfred.
Oh, it's absolute cowardice.
No, it's actually awesome. Like, and we'll get to why you and I are of the same mind here. I do not think this should be the case. I understand if you're of a certain age and watch baseball at a certain time, what Pete Rose probably means to you or what you think of him as a ball player. I get it. And that's why we all are welcome to our opinions. And we have the same one, I think, and other people disagree. That's fine. I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame regardless, alive, dead, whatever. But to wait until these guys are dead and then suddenly, oh, wait, now you're not ineligible. Like, very shortly after you could have celebrated their lives or they could have experienced it near the end and be like, oh, actually, you can have this good thing once you're gone is so cowardly. And it's just such a classic Rob Manfred thing. It really is.
So it's not just Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson who are off of Major League Baseball's banned list. The 7 other members of the infamous 1919 Black Sox are all off of the ban list, as well as other players who were on the ineligible list but have since passed away. So, like, tough luck to Cupita Marcano. You cannot resume your career even though you were placed on the permanently ineligible list for gambling on baseball a couple of seasons back. Tough luck for you. I guess you got to die, but everyone who's dead and was on the ineligibility list is no longer ineligible.
Why have rules? Like if Eddie Cicotte or Cicotte, however you say his name, is allowed to be recognized by Major League Baseball now despite gambling and throwing a World Series, why have rules? Seriously. Allow guys to gamble on games.
Well, I do think there is a conversation to be had about Major League Baseball being so hand in hand with gambling now that it does feel like this is an acknowledgement of how far down that road they've gotten, that we can no longer ban for life people who threw a World Series or whatever you think of Pete Rose. The Black Sox threw the World Series.
Joe has a comment on YouTube, which I think is relevant here. Joe says, my opinion is it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Good People. I do agree with that. At Pro Football Hall of Fame, they're going to keep OJ in there forever. No one thinks that's a good dude.
Sure.
Okay? Like that, I agree with that. And I think Pete Rose is a was a
Hall of Fame caliber baseball player. Nobody with eyes or a brain would argue different.
Well,
that as a baseball player, Pete Rose was a Hall of Famer.
Well, I was going to say, I think he was a horrible person. Like, he didn't treat women well, kids, his teammates, people. Bad guy.
Statutory rapist, allegedly. Bad guy.
That's not why I think he should be out of the Hall of Fame, though, because I agree with Joe in that regard. I think he should be out of the Hall of Fame because he gambled on it. He threatened the sanctity of the game. And look, I like to gamble on sports. You know what I don't do? Also go out there and try to manage a team.
Yeah. No, it was the right thing to do to ban him for life. It 1,000% was the right decision by Bart Giamatti, even though he agonized over it so much that it probably contributed to his untimely death a month after the ruling came down in 1989. But here we are. That's the big breaking news today. We'll talk about it more in the 5 o'clock hour. Obviously, a lot of people have some thoughts about this. As far as the Hall of Fame goes, a quick point of clarification, as that seems to be the predominant direction of the debate, because they are all of these reinstated folks are going to be eligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame, newly eligible. The writers will not vote. This is not coming down to the baseball writers. This is going to come down to the Veterans Committee. This will come down to people who are associated with the Hall of Fame, who are in the Hall of Fame. They get to decide if Pete Rose should join their group, essentially. And I would be very surprised if the answer to that were yes, frankly, particularly as the age cohort of those who played with Pete Rose ages out of involvement.
Is anyone who is friends with Ray Fosse on the committee?
That's a great question.
Because if so, they will not be voting for Pete Rose.
So this is not something that all of a sudden he's going to appear on next year's Hall of Fame ballot. I don't think he'd be eligible under the current rules of the Veterans Committee until 2027 to be even considered again to be part of the ballot. But that is obviously fairly massive news today. And I think it sucks. I think it sets a bad precedent. And I do think it goes to show you that there are no consequences. As long as you are famous enough and enough people like you, there are no consequences for bad behavior. That is, I think, something.
Once you die, anyway.
Yeah. Well,
once you can't actually bask in it.
Honest to God, though, I think if it was trending in this direction, even if Pete had not,
you're probably right.
Yeah, sure. Today, Pete Rose is looking up and smiling that he has been reinstated by Commissioner Rob Manfred.
I hate Rob Manfred. I hate him so much.
Hate him very much.
What a coward.
So we'll get to that in headlines plus the playoff roundup. We'll get to what is wrong with you. Random Question Tuesday's coming up too. It's a jam-packed show today. We appreciate the spirited dialogue going on in our YouTube chat right now. Again, you can watch the program on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Jump into that chat if you are watching live. We love to hear from you. Good afternoon to Ryan and Vance. We mentioned Joe, Tyler, and others who will join us throughout the show today there in the YouTube chat. You can also text the program. We'd love to hear from you via text, 785-272-9429.
This is what you get out of bed for. You wake up, we're 10 minutes into the show, we're already having some hot debate, got some very respectful disagreements on the text line and in the YouTube. It's great. That's what you live for.
Absolutely.
It's not like John Gruden, but I really mean that.
Let's talk about players who are not on the or were not this morning on the permanently ineligible list. Let's talk about some guys who are alive and playing baseball. The Kansas City Royals. Boy, are they alive. They're back into the win column, 7-5 over the Houston Astros last night. Not ideal to have to go and use both Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez in a game you were leading 7-0 after 3 and 7-0 into the bottom of the 7th. That's not what you want.
No.
But winning the game is winning the game, and the Royals took care of their business to take game 1 of that 3-game set in H-Town. It's kind of funny how when the Royals erupt offensively, and last night's 7-run outburst certainly qualifies as an eruption by their standards, it usually happens early, and then they don't do anything the rest of the game. The Royals score 4 in the second, 3 in the third, and then nothing for the rest of the game. They had done every bit as good just standing there at the plate the rest of the game. They didn't really even threaten beyond that third inning when they went up 7-0, and the Astros were able to put something together, scored a couple in the 7th, both charged to Michael Wacha, scored 3, all charged to Steven Cruz in the 8th, but Lucas Erceg put that fire out in the 8th inning, and Carlos Estevez worked a scoreless 9th for his 12th save. Michael Massey homered in the win for the Royals. We talked about it coming out of the month of April. Whatever reason there is for it, I don't know. But March and April have never agreed with Michael Massey. He has never in his career gotten off to a good start. And 2025, obviously no exception. For the first month of play, Michael Massey was 18 for 96 at the plate. That's a 188 batting average, an OPS of 425, and just 3 extra base hits, all of them doubles, 2 walks in 103 plate appearances, and 19 strikeouts. Well, here we are in the month of May. The calendar is turned. April showers bring May flowers for Michael Massey, who is 11 for 40 at the plate in the first 10 games of May. That's a 275 batting average. The OPS is up to triple sevens. That's a jackpot. 777 OPS. 4 extra base hits. So already more extra base hits in May than in the first 28 games of the season. 2 doubles and now 2 home runs. The same number of walks in 43 plate appearances and only 3 strikeouts in those 43 plate appearances. Maybe he needs to start spring training in February. Maybe we need to get Michael Massey into, maybe he needs to play winter ball, get those April sillies out of him in some other form or fashion, because once again, and this was the case last year, calendar turns and Michael Massey's a useful ball player. And not just at the plate, that play he made up the middle last night to start the double play in the 3rd inning. Looking back, that might have been a game saver.
Yeah, I mean, tremendous play. Kind of funny that the Royals' best play one of the best plays you'll see in Major League Baseball this year with the glove involved the Royals' middle infield and shortstop and not Bobby Witt Jr. I did think that was pretty funny since he was DHing in last night's game. No, I don't know what it is. Could you argue that, since he's had back problems, is it just easier for him to lock in when his back is not locking up? I don't know. I have no idea what the reason is. Maybe he's just a slow starter. There are guys who are like that. It makes the start of the year so frustrating. It's like, yeah, we wouldn't have had all these discussions about how awful the Royals offense was, or at least fewer of them, if you had this, obviously competent hitter able to actually make contact and strong contact and spray the ball all over. I don't know why. He clearly has this issue, why he is a slow starter. But if he's going to get red hot this time of year, okay, you feel a little bit better about what he's able to do. The funny thing is, his overall numbers are still so bad because his April was arguably the worst of any everyday player in baseball. Like, he still only has a 528 OPS for the year, but you laid out, he's been very productive in this month, and especially over the last handful of games. So you're in a position now where even if the overall numbers don't look great, and it's not like Michael Massey's an irreplaceable player when he's hot, but you feel better about him being out there every day at second base. It's not like, oh my God, Massey's coming up, this is a disaster. No, he can contribute for you.
There is a 500-point OPS difference in Michael Massey's career March-April numbers and May numbers. Is a 417 OPS in March and April in his career, and a 917 OPS in the month of May. That is absurd. I don't even know what to do with that.
Yeah,
just ridiculous. But I do think there's something to that. The idea of he's the second baseman. I think, and I've always believed this, guys find a comfort level when they know they are going to show up to the ballpark and they know that their name is going to be in the lineup and they know what defensive position they're going to be at. I think it locks guys into a routine, and I think it makes guys feel more comfortable. I don't think it's a coincidence that we have seen Drew Waters have one of the better extended stretches of play in his career, because he knows when he comes to the ballpark, he's playing right field, unless there's a left-hander at the plate and he might play center, but he knows he's going to be in the lineup. Michael Garcia has benefited, I think, from a little job security. Now, he hit his way into that job security, but I do think that he has benefited from that. And I think the team as a whole benefits from knowing, all right, Jonathan Indy is up top. The next 3 guys are the next 3 guys. Garcia and Massey behind that, and that's our first 6. And then the bottom is going to be Waters and Isbell. 8, 9, and 7 is kind of dependent on who's pitching and what hand they might be, or whatever whim Matt Quatrero might have. But I do think that there is something to be said for stability and rhythm, and guys get into a routine as the season goes along, that everyday routine of playing games. And I think it helps guys like Massey. I think it may be helping Jonathan India as well, who had himself a 3-hit night. They were all singles, but a 3-hit night, drove in a pair of runs. The on-base percentage is up to 333. It's the only number I care about with Jonathan India. Is he getting on base? Is he getting on base as an acceptable clip for a major league leadoff hitter in front of Bobby Witt Jr.? The answer right now for Jonathan India is yes. So I will take what I am getting from Jonathan India right now, particularly when you look bigger picture over the last 2 weeks. He's got a 350 on base percentage. And we've seen more of the power. It's not going to be, he's not going to slug 500, but he can slug around 400 and get on base at that 340, 350-ish clip. You're going to take that from Jonathan India. So lots of good stuff there offensively. And I'm sure, speaking of feeling comfortable, Michael Wacha had to feel, I don't know how he felt last night, but it was definitely a feeling he hadn't felt much of this season, because in the first 8 games that Michael Wacha started this season, the Royals scored a total of 16 runs. Not 16 runs in the portions of the game when Wacha was on the mound. They scored 16 total runs in Michael Wacha's first 8 games that he started. They got 7 for him last night, and in a related story, Wacha got the win, 6 1/3 innings, scattered 8 hits, allowed just 2 runs, struck out 3, walked a pair, and finished with the win, going to 3-4, lowering his ERA on the season to 2.96. More solid work from the mid-rotation stalwart. Michael Wacha is a guy that you're just happy to have stabilizing the middle of the rotation, because you can count on him for days like that, for efforts like that, for stability, for a little length. And the Royals have really benefited from having him right in the middle of their rotation.
Yeah, he's been awesome. He's been better than I certainly could have expected from him. I mean, if he was, 80% of what he's been so far this year, I would have felt great. But no, he has blown every expectation and hope out of the water for what he could be at age 33. 2.96 ERA. You feel great about that. 1.2 walks and hits per inning pitched. That's a really good number so far. And one thing that has been pretty impressive to me, he's been very good both against lefties and righties. Like, there's nothing that's overwhelmingly, oh my God, like righties come up and they're absolutely mashing against him. No, he's been very solid going both ways. In fact, he has almost identical whip between lefties and righties. He's striking out lefties at a slightly higher clip, but allowing fewer hits to right-handed batters. I mean, he's just been very effective all over the place. You look up and down the baseball card stats, the advanced stuff, you use the eye test, you look at, you look for people who know pitching mechanics for a living, and everybody will tell you how good Michael Wacha has been. And again, at 33 in year 13 of his career, it's hard not to be really, really impressed by what he's been. I think right now, if you were putting together an all-star team right now, I think you've got 2 Royals pitchers on the team from the start. I think you could argue very easily for 2 Royals starters to make the team. And amazingly enough, it probably wouldn't include Cole Reagans, who I think is the best of the group. Sure. But all-star games are about production. Chris Bubich has been incredible. MLB on their Twitter account today, X, the everything app, it's all happening on X. They post the schedule of games every day, in the morning, mid-afternoon, whatever. And they always have a little, quote to tease it, like, oh, this big game is going to be at 1:20, and that's the big game of the day. Or, oh, here's the ace pitchers of the day. One of the ace pitchers they were hyping up today was Chris Bubich. Like, people are starting to take notice of how good he is, and Michael Wacha, not quite that dominant, but he has been absolutely excellent. He's been really, really dang good, and I'm thrilled. Like, I don't know if he'll be this good all season, but again, if he's 80% of this over the course of an entire remainder of the season, 4.5 months, you'll feel excellent. Absolutely tremendous. We had a question. It was actually our guy Trenton, who was watching along on YouTube yesterday, our former intern, who said, if you are going to have a best of 3 right now, who are you putting in the rotation? And right now, I would go Reagans, Bubich, Wacha. That would be my group. And no offense to Seth Lugo, because we talked about it yesterday. There's still a lot of good with Seth Lugo, but right now, the way they're pitching, that would be my top 3.
I think it's hard to argue. I don't think you could go wrong with either Wacha or Lugo, but I think Wacha has been a little bit better. The peripheral numbers would support that. And again, just an outstanding stabilizing force to have in the middle of that Royals rotation. Maybe a 45-year-old will join it at some point. That is a distinct possibility. I guess I don't say distinct, but the Royals signed Rich Hill to a minor league contract today. We're going to talk about, that Rich Hill when we come back. Plus, we got Random Question Tuesday coming up. Michael Swain will join us bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for Jayhawk Weekly. We got lots more to get to. We're just getting started on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. .334 and 580 Sports Talk just getting underway on the program today. Royals have announced that they have signed left-handed pitcher Rich Hill to a minor league contract. He will report to Surprise and expected to join AAA Omaha soon. The baseball implication to this, let's get to that first. Kyle Wright got yanked off of his rehab assignment. So step back for a guy that the Royals were counting on for some potential major league depth this season. Alec Marsh still isn't on rehab assignment yet, so still waiting on him to get back. Royals at AAA basically have Noah Cameron and not really anybody else you'd trust to start a big league game right now. Rich Hill is 45 years old, and last time we saw him in the major leagues was last year for all of 4 appearances and 3 2/3 innings. He threw 5 2/3 professional innings last year 2 at AAA Worcester, and 3 2/3 in 4 appearances for the Red Sox. Prior to that, he was last seen posting a 5.41 ERA over 32 starts for Pittsburgh and San Diego in 2023. Rich Hill is a great story. He's got an incredible baseball reference page. He's played for 13 different major league teams. If the Royals call him up and he appears in a game for the Royals, not only will he be a great immaculate grid answer, he will also tie the major league record for the most teams played for in a career. The record is 14 teams.
By the late Octavio Dotel.
That's correct. So, again, the baseball implications of this, they are what they are. The Royals need somebody who can start games at AAA Omaha right now and could perhaps, in a pinch, give the Royals 4 innings in a start. Like, I don't think you're expecting Rich Hill to handle a month of starts. If that were to arise, that would be a big problem. But they need to patch over something right now, which is they don't have a lot of guys with big league experience who are pitching at AAA Omaha that they would trust to make a big league start.
Yeah, I don't think this is an earth-shattering move by any means, but you need someone to pitch down there. Like, it might be a developmental ground, but you still have to play the games, and you need someone who can physically throw those innings. And look, maybe, I've talked so many times this year, and we've all kind of shared the same sentiment that you do worry about the health of the pitching staff, that you can only be so healthy for so long. This is a guy who's pitched plenty. He's been around for 20 seasons now. He's got a lot of experience in the bigs. Not a single all-star team. Not one. Never has led the majors or even either the AL or NL in any individual statistic. Not one in his entire year, but he's just a solid arm. Always has been. And if you need him in a pinch, you've got him. And that's essentially what it comes down to. Or at some point, someone calls his agent and says, hey, we need an arm desperately, ask for an outright release. And the Royals will probably just say, okay.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, there's a little bit of nothing ventured, nothing gained both ways here.
It's essentially, to me, no risk. There's literally no risk involved here with a small reward. And that's fine. There's no problem with doing that.
The arcana of this, what were you doing? This is a bit of an early Random Question Tuesday. What were you doing June 15th of 2005?
I actually pulled up this box score because you shared the link with me. June 15th of 2005. Do we know what day of the week this was?
It was a Wednesday.
There's a chance I had a Little League game that night. There's a chance I was playing some baseball.
Okay. 2005. I might have been at a Colorado Springs Sky Sox game that night. That was the summer I was working for Baseball Info Solutions, doing some data entry for down at AAA Colorado Springs back when they had a minor league team. Rich Hill.
I may have watched this game when he debuted.
Rich Hill on June 15th of 2005 was making his major league debut in a 15-5 Chicago Cubs loss to the Florida Marlins. Hill worked an inning in relief, gave up 2 runs. The starting pitchers in that game were A.J. Burnett and Greg Maddux.
Yep.
Greg Maddux. Nafi Perez was the leadoff hitter for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah,
when Rich Hill broke into the major leagues.
Almost every single player who saw the field for the Cubs in this game.
I'm going to run through. How about this? The Royals played that same day, June 15th of 2005. They beat the Dodgers 3-1 at the K. This was the starting lineup for the Kansas City Royals the day Rich Hill, who again is now set to join AAA Omaha, made his major league debut. The starting lineup for the Royals that day: Angel Baroa at short, David DeJesus in center field, Mike Sweeney at first, Matt Stairs DHing and batting cleanup, Emil Brown in right field, Mark Tian at third, Tony Graffinino at second, Shane Costa in left field.
Wow.
And John Buck behind the plate. Jose Lima, the late great Jose Lima, got the start. 8 innings of 1-run ball. Gave way to all-star closer Mike McDougal. I used him on the Immaculate Grid today.
I did too.
Mike McDougal with a clean 9th for the save. That was what happened the day that
Rich Hill made his debut.
Yeah, that Rich Hill made his major league debut. I was just checking to see Jack Caglione, the top prospect in the Royal system right now, the top prospect in the minor leagues. Jack Caglione was 2 years old.
Wow.
So.
I hate that. Everything about that sucks.
Isn't that crazy?
I remember when Rich Hill came up, I was not. I will admit, I've been a baseball fan my whole life and a big baseball fan, but I've never been the I'm gonna read AA box scores guy like that. That was never me. I pay attention to the prospects now, and I remember when the Cubs were finishing their rebuild, like Chris Bryant was coming up and Addison Russell and them. I was looking at that info then, but most of my life I have not. But I remember when Rich Hill came up and he was getting talked about a lot. I remember Chip Carey and Steve Stone talking about him on the broadcast. Like it was, or broadcast when he was young. That was a pretty big deal at the time. Oh my God, he's played 20 years and I've been conscious for all of them. I'm so old. But yeah, this Cubs team, it's such a different game now. Like I'm looking, this is mid-June. Navy Perez, 300 batter. Derek Lee was hitting 385. You had a bunch of dudes hitting high 200s into the 300s. Now, and again, batting average, it is what it is. It's not great. It's fine as a stat to use. Now you're hitting like 250 and it's, oh yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty productive, especially this year in Major League Baseball because no one's hitting for any average. Jeremy Burnett started for the Cubs. He had a bizarre batting stance. Really stuck his ass out.
Rocky great, Jeremy Burnett. He's been on the Rockies the season before, I believe.
I believe you are correct about that. Yeah, Todd Hollandsworth, who played for the Marlins.
Great Todd Hollandsworth.
Yeah, when they beat up on the Cubs in the 2003.
That's why the Cubs were very good in 2005. Far too many ex-Rockies in that lineup.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Derek Lee, to this day, like if I went to the batting cages, I would still stand in the box like Derek Lee with my left leg back behind my right leg.
Everybody has that guy. They incorporated some part of their stance into their own. We'll take a break, come back with Random Question Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk. Question Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk. You can answer along if you're in the YouTube chat or on the text line, 785-272-9429. Brendan, I'm going to give you first steps in Random Question Tuesday today.
All right, so you and I both have married women who are probably not as into sports as we are. But
Accurate, yeah.
Like sports, like to watch a game.
Sure.
Spencer as well. Spencer's girlfriend likes sports too. Big Browns fan, I believe.
Yeah.
Whether it's with your wife or with a past partner or watching a game with someone who doesn't like or get sports, what's the funniest comment or observation about a game that you've heard?
I don't know that this necessarily qualifies as an observation about the game, but it was this year. It was during the wild card weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And because the Chiefs had that early game, right? They had the game on Saturday. That was that first game against the Texans.
Yes.
So we watched that game, and after the game was over, Abby asked me, "Do the Seahawks play today?"
Got your ass.
Oh, absolutely fried me. Of course,
fried them.
Of course, Seahawks did not make the playoffs this year, as you may know. But yeah, like totally guileless, like did not mean anything by it. Genuinely asking, do the Seahawks play today? No, they don't. Man. They don't play again for a very long time.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was so funny.
My the one that always comes to mind, my wife and I were watching a game, I don't know, a couple of years ago. We were watching an NFL game, and we're just sitting on the couch, and they put up a graphic. We must have been watching a Chiefs game. Or Packers, either one. Mm-hmm. And it was yards per play, like current leaders or best of the last 10 years or whatever. And Abby makes a comment like, well, that doesn't seem 6.3. That doesn't seem like that many. And I said, actually, that's a pretty good number. Like the greatest offense ever, the 1999 Rams, they were at like 7.3. That's really good. My wife says to me, why don't they get 10 yards a play? I was like, well, because there's a defense. Yeah. It's really hard.
That's a good fair question.
And I thought it was really, really funny. She's like, I don't know. I thought it would be easy. No.
I got another one for you. Remember the TGL had its first season? The golf simulator league, basically. Tiger Woods and his friends getting together and playing on their golf simulator in like an arena and having a competitive league. And I checked it out. Like I turned it on for a night. I turned it on for the first night, and my wife just tore it to shreds within like 5 seconds of me putting it on the screen. What is this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen on television. And then she said, if this is the future of sports, that's really sad. And I'm like,
go off.
Dad,
hell
like,
yeah.
You want to host a show tomorrow? Like, you want to get in for a segment?
Abby Lucero here for What Is Wrong With You? The TGL indoor golf. Isaac from we got some good ones here on YouTube. Isaac says, my mother yelling safety every time the team scores a touchdown. Van says, my ex-wife once asked me what the wild card looked like.
Many shapes and sizes.
That's pretty funny. Paul says, my sister-in-law has been in numerous stage productions. She constantly makes production comparisons to sports. Training camp is auditions. Uniforms are costumes. She's kind of right. She's kind of right about that.
That is true.
That's pretty funny.
It's just different verbiage. A quick random question for you. Based on, we just talked about Rich Hill signed a minor league contract with the Kansas City Royals, made his major league debut in 2005. Do you remember being at a debut for a player or going out of your way to either watch or attend a player's debut?
I did not go out of my way, but I was at Kyle Schwarber's MLB debut. It was 2015. He was still a catcher at the time. Very funny in retrospect. And it was Blackhawks with the Stanley Cup day at Wrigley Field.
Sure.
So I got home from work. I can't remember the day of the week it was, but I got home from my fast food job and I hopped on the train, met my sister downtown, and she lives like 3 blocks from Wrigley Field. And we just got last minute bleacher seats and we enjoyed the game. It sucked. They did not play well at all. And it got really cold at night. And Miguel Montero got ejected in the 8th inning. He said something to the home plate umpire between innings. So no one actually saw him get ejected. They just announced, like, now catching Kyle Schwarber. What? Why? And then we found out later. And yeah, he struck out on 3 pitches, not a single one of which was close. But I did see him. Famously, he blew up in his second career game. He had, I think, 2 doubles and a triple in the first start and second overall game of his career, which was the following day. But yeah, that's the one I can remember.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm having trouble picking out like one game that was a debut. Like I saw, I think I saw Tim Lincecum's first career win, but I don't believe it was his major league debut with the Giants.
That's a good one.
Again, not a debut, but I saw the first NBA matchup in Denver between Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James. So that was pretty cool. Their rookie seasons, got to see them play against each other in Denver for the first time. That game was like a Hollywood event. There were so many like local celebrities, local athletes there. That was a pretty cool one to be at. JB, the YouTube comment says, I went to Eric Hosmer's big league debut and saw Bobby Witt down at AA in Wichita.
That's cool. Being able to say you saw someone when they were a minor leaguer who's a star now, that's cool.
Joe in the YouTube comments has made sure to catch Alex Gordon's Royals debut in 2008. Text from the 785 says they were at Tony Gwynn's debut against the Phillies. Game of a DH, and he got his first major league hit. That's a pretty cool story.
Real quick, I do have another one. I had forgotten about this. June 17th, 2023. Samad Taylor makes his major league debut for the Royals and records a game-winning walk-off hit. I just said the other day on the show, I never leave games early. But I was there with my wife and one of my best friends, and it was hotter than hell.
Oh, yeah.
And the Royals were sucking it up all day. So we left in the 7th inning to go get food. And then we find out while in line at Joe's KC that Samad Taylor had a walk-off hit. So I never even got to see it.
Ah, man.
But no, I was there for that moment.
One last addendum to this. I wasn't there physically, but talking about making sure, going out of your way to see somebody's debut. When I was living in Nebraska, one of my coworkers, good friend of mine, also a big baseball fan, I had the MLB TV package. And I said, hey, man, we should get together and watch Steven Strasburg's first big league start. And that was worth it. That was worth sitting down for. 14 strikeouts, 7 innings. That was a good one to remember. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Have a great text line submission. 785-272-9429 is the text line. Great text line submission for that question. The funniest thing your significant other who maybe doesn't like sports as much as you said during a sporting event. From the 785, watching baseball with an ex of mine, Hosmer hits a home run. She excitedly yells out, field goal. I looked at her and asked what she said. She proudly said it was a field goal. His goal was to hit it out of the field, and he did it.
That's kind of little kid logic, but I get it.
That's such a great.
I will say this. Sometimes my wife will ask me a question during a game, and my wife really likes football, especially college football. And she has to like the NFL because I'm a Packers fan. So, but she'll sometimes ask a question during a game, and I'll give her an answer, and she'll say like, that was such a dumb question. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Like, I would always rather have like a supposedly obvious question and have you ask and be engaged and talk about it and like get to share something I care about.
Yes.
As opposed to the two previous women I had dated before I met my wife for long periods of time who could not have cared less.
Yes.
Could not have cared less.
No, yeah, they're much better that they engage, even if they're
every time.
You ever do the thing where like there's a cool play or like you see like a really cool like play design and you do like the dad thing where you go, oh man, great play design. And then like I want to Abby, watch this. I go, Abby, watch. Yeah. Watch what the tight end does here. Watch them leak him out. Watch how they get him
I'll
open.
rewind. I'll grab the remote and I'll rewind.
Abby, watch what happens. League! They're running league! I said, halfback wheel, babe. It's undefeated. It works every time. I get so excited.
It does work every time. It's always open.
Abby will always,
like the angle
Abby
route.
always smiles and nods politely, and I appreciate it. That's all I'm looking for is a little acknowledgement that the cool thing I thought was cool was cool. Well, we'll take a break. When we come back in the 4 o'clock hour, the Chiefs are playing on Christmas again, plus What Is Wrong With You? And Michael Swain joins us for Jayhawk Weekly at 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And a special hello to everybody watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. Gang's all here. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis. We're with you until 6, and we'll have some overtime up until 6:30. Royals baseball tonight, game 2 of their 3-game set against the Astros in Houston. A 6:30 pregame start on the Royals Baseball Network. 7:10, the first pitch. Bubic and Valdez, a lefty versus lefty matchup at, I guess I never heard it pronounced on the broadcast last night. Dakin or Daikin Park? I still don't know. The new name of Minute Maid Park.
It's whatever you want it to be. You can make up a name.
I've never heard. Daikin Global is a Japanese multinational conglomerate headquartered in Osaka. They are the world's largest air conditioner manufacturer. So that makes perfect sense that they would be the naming sponsor of the indoor park in Houston.
I wonder if the deal with upgrading their AC system.
My wife tells the story that she went to a game at then Minute Maid Park in Houston it was a family vacation once, and she went to a game there and said that's the only way I ever want to watch baseball again, indoors in the air conditioning. She's over being outdoors watching baseball. She's all in on indoors in the air conditioning. If you've ever been to Houston for like 5 minutes, you understand why they built an indoor ballpark.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Somebody on the HVAC Reddit forum asked this question. It's Daikin.
Daikin. Okay.
But also, they're not paying you. Call it Minute Maid.
That's
Call
true.
it the Astrodome. They're not paying me to say the right
Well, it's not
name.
the Astrodome. It's Minute Maid Park.
Yeah, but who's going to stop me? I'm not being contracted to say the right name.
So Daikin Park, where the ball game is tonight, the Royals.
Wasn't it Landry's Field at one point?
I don't think so. The Landry's, I believe they sponsor the Crawford boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, they are the Landry's Crawford boxes.
All right, yeah. It was Astros Field before it was Minute Maid Park.
Yes, they had to
Enron,
hastily make a change. It couldn't be Enron Field anymore,
No.
but they didn't have anything else lined up for it to be.
No.
They got those signs down so fast.
I believe it.
Is that
among people in attendance at groundbreaking for the stadium? Kenneth Lay.
Oh, you don't say. You don't say. Is that the worst one of all time, or was it that crypto company that went bust that was the title sponsor of Miami's arena?
Oh,
FTX?
yeah, it's got to be those crypto scams.
FTX. Man, Major League Baseball umpires had FTX patches for like years.
As long as you can make a quick buck.
Yeah, that hopefully those checks cashed for everybody involved there. We are going to discuss all things KU with Michael Swain at the bottom of this hour for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly. We'll talk to Michael in a little bit. Another round of What Is Wrong With You coming up. Jam-packed. It's been a big sports news day today. We discussed at the top of the show. We'll get into it again. The news that Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson are among 16 people long dead who are now Hall of Fame eligible again, as Major League Baseball has decided. Commissioner Rob Manfred has decided that permanent ineligibility for whatever reason ends at your death. So that in particular of the players in question, the two most notable ones are Pete Rose and Joe Jackson. Nobody's rending any garments about Gene Paulette, who was banned in 1920 for associating with known gamblers in 1919, or Jimmy O'Connell, a Giants player who was banned in 1924 after offering a bribe to another player, or Cozy Dolan, a coach for the Giants who was involved in the O'Connell incident. Nobody's worried about those folks. Everybody talking about Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson because their playing records would have made them Hall of Famers if not for the whole permanent ineligibility thing. So obviously a lot of people have spirited thoughts on what they believe ought to happen there. I'm very spirited about it. I think that you should remain banned forever. And permanent means permanent. Permanent means after you're dead too. And I think this is Rob Manfred giving into be frank
political
about it.
Pressure.
Yes, this is Rob Manfred giving into political pressure from the current United States president.
We'll get into this more.
Yeah, trying to like there's an alarm, like there's like an alarm that goes off in the building. Warning, your sports conversation is trending too close to a political discussion. Warning, back away. And that alarm, if we get too much into that, is going to be so loud as to be deafening.
Yeah, I mean, we
need a shot caller, honestly, with a story like this.
Yeah.
There are a couple of stories percolating out there that require the shot caller, frankly.
Let's talk about the future of college football.
Let's not say we did. So we'll get into that in headlines. Jason Tatum has a torn Achilles. We'll get to that in headlines as well. Terrible news.
Yes, I had surgery today.
Yeah.
Real quick turnaround.
More Royals baseball, of course, as well coming up. We want to hear from you on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. 785-272-9429. You can also get at us on the YouTube live chat. If you are watching the show on our YouTube channel, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to the channel. We appreciate seeing that number go up. So go check us out on YouTube. If you've never done it before, today's a great day to do it. I've got a nice Air Force Falcons t-shirt on. You can see Spencer's got a hat. You can watch us on YouTube. And we've always got interesting hats and things going on.
I've got a Yellowstone hat on.
Nice. I've never been to Yellowstone.
The National Park or the TV show?
It's the National Park.
Okay.
I've never been either, but it's a cool hat.
It's a cool hat. Yeah, I get that.
I lived 90 minutes from Yellowstone for a full year, and I never went. And I'm honestly, I still regret it. Still regret it. Anyway, watch us on YouTube, and there is a chat on the mobile device, your web browser. If you're watching on YouTube, the channel name is 580 Sports Talk, and we appreciate your interactions there on the text line. Again, however you're consuming the show today, we really appreciate you being a part of 580 Sports Talk. If you hung out for overtime yesterday, you heard this as breaking news. This is no longer breaking news, but it was right around 6 o'clock. We had just gotten off the air when Amazon Prime made the announcement they've got a Christmas Day game this year. It's not just the Netflix doubleheader. There will be the Netflix doubleheader followed by a primetime game on Christmas night on Amazon Prime, and it will be the Kansas City Chiefs playing host to the Denver Broncos at Arrowhead Stadium, a 7:15 p.m. start time. The Chiefs, for a third straight year, are playing on Christmas. I explained on yesterday's show, and I will explain briefly again and give you guys a chance to explain your own thoughts on this. But I hate this. I hate this for a lot of reasons, and I'll get into some of the broad stroke stuff in a little bit. But mostly, I don't appreciate the intrusion of work onto my Christmas. And a Chiefs game, though I enjoy watching Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones and other guys, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, play football. I enjoy that. But it's work. That's work. And I don't want to work on Christmas. I know like that comes from a place of a certain amount of privilege, but I don't like working on Christmas. I want Christmas to be about my family. I want Christmas to be about the holiday, the reason for the season. I want my Christmas to be about, this is going to be Asher's second Christmas, but this will be a really fun one because he was just, 6 months old for his first Christmas. This is going to be a really fun Christmas that I'm looking forward to with my son. And I don't appreciate the work intrusion. I don't. From that perspective. Also, I think it is cruel for a third straight year to have that work intrusion on the players and the staff for the Kansas City Chiefs and the staff at Arrowhead Stadium. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right to do that for a third straight year. These people are not just an entertainment product. Patrick Mahomes would like to spend time with his family on Christmas Day, I'm sure, just as much as you and I do. And for a third straight year, you got to cut that short because you got to go work. And I think that sucks. And that's where I'm at on it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, last year or this past year, I was meeting my girlfriend's family, like her extended family. It was we were Christmas at her aunt's house, and I was meeting her nephews and everybody, the whole family. And luckily, they were playing the Steelers, and they like the Steelers because they're from Pennsylvania. So the game was on. I was able to tune in and tune out and tune in and tune out. But no, I think 3 games, especially now, getting ridiculous. I think maybe like 1 game a year just to satisfy your TV partners.
One comment about your thought, Dan, the Chiefs now had to do this or will have had to have done this 3 years in a row. I'm going to guess Clark Hunt didn't go to the locker room to ask the guys
Guaranteed they
their
didn't.
thoughts when he was like, "We want to be the Christmas team." I'm sure he did not want to show his face to Travis Kelce and ask, "Hey, you want to be part of the Christmas team?"
So something I remember distinctly, you know how teams do videos for their schedule releases now,
Yeah.
a lot of social media stuff. I remember a couple of years ago, the Seahawks did one as a gag. They put out a fake schedule and showed it to their players. It was like they played back like Monday and a Thursday on the same week. It was an obviously fake schedule that they showed the guys. But one of them they showed was Quandre Diggs, who had just come to the Seahawks from Detroit. And they had the Seahawks playing on Thanksgiving. And Quandre Diggs lost his mind about the thought of having to play on Thanksgiving again. Hated it, didn't want anything to do with it. These guys are not just an entertainment product for you and me, folks. These are people with families. People who would like to be not working on the holidays the same way a lot of us don't get to work on the holidays. Like, this has an impact on these guys as people. Like, you strap up and you put on the uniform and you go play because you play when they tell you to play and you're compensated handsomely for the privilege. I understand that. But, like, there's a human element to this, and I guarantee you the players are pissed off.
Yeah, I'm sure they are not happy about it one bit. The work part of it is unfortunate, and you're right. I mean, if that is like the downside of our job, no one is going to cry for me about it. And I understand.
No. Again, the place of privilege here.
And look, I was thinking about this yesterday because it looks like Spencer and I are going to have our teams play each other on Christmas Day. We'll find out tomorrow night for sure. Maybe tomorrow during the daytime. But are they going to announce it ahead of time?
I think tonight.
Oh, well, we might know tonight then. And we'll talk
early
about it
tomorrow. Early tomorrow tonight.
They might play on Christmas Day. So I already the team you have the new emotional attachment to. The Chiefs also both a work and at this point some level of emotional attachment to as well. And I was thinking, man, the easy response you could have to me when I say, God, I don't want to have to watch multiple football games necessarily on Christmas. I like football, and maybe it's easy to have it on in the background, but I would like to be engaged with my family, with my wife, with my kid. And the answer is, well, just don't pay attention. Like, don't watch it later. Yeah, but it's also something I like and I enjoy. And it's, 3 hours of my week that I really want to commit to something that I've cared about since I was, 3 years old. And that's Packers football. The thing that I think is going to be an issue for the NFL, which is at a point where it's kind of too big to fail, because, it is so popular and it is such an integral part of American culture and just Americana itself at this point. The part of the appeal and part of why it has become such a behemoth. I actually heard someone say this the other day, and I actually thought it was a really smart idea. Stavros, what's his last name? He's a comedian.
Yeah, the guy on the podcast whose name we absolutely cannot say on the show.
Yes, he was on a podcast with a illicit name. And he was talking about how his true love is basketball. Loves basketball. But the older he's from Baltimore, he's a Ravens fan. He's always loved the Ravens, but hoop was his thing. The older he's gotten, the more he's had responsibility or whatever, the Ravens have become his number one thing. It's like, it's inevitable. Like, you love sports, you love these teams. Basketball's on every night. And they play 82 games, and there's a lot of it. You can feel like, okay, I can miss one of these. Football, it was for a long time 16, now 17 games, and it's one time a week. And you can say, hey, my life is busy, but I can set aside 3 hours or 3.5 hours to watch a game. And it's usually on Sunday when, generally speaking, people have less going on. And it's like, yeah, it's easy to watch it, and it's easy to get into, and these stars are everywhere, and they hype it up so much. Then, yeah, you play Monday once in a while. Okay, that's fine. It's prime time, whatever. Then you got Thursday games, and okay, there's more days of the week. And then college football ends, then they play games on Saturdays. Okay, that's another day of the week when there's games. Then they add the Black Friday game. Okay, that's another game on during the week. Now Christmas, whenever that falls, you're going to put 3 games on that day. You have so many days of the week, and the NFL has done such a great job of, you care about your team, but you also know a lot about other teams.
Yeah.
Like, we might not focus a lot on the Jaguars, but if I asked each of you, fill 2 minutes talking about the Jags, I know you could do it. Yeah. I know that you could do it. And I think most fans could do it. But when you spread it so thin and it goes away from all right, Sunday, we're locking in. We're going to sit on the couch, going to drink beer, going to eat pork rinds, and we're going to watch football all day. Like, well, yeah, I'm going to do that. But then, like, oh, there was a game I wanted to see, but it's on Thursday, and the kids have gymnastics that night. I can't do that. Oh, wow, Christmas. Well, we got presents in the morning, and then we're going to have the grandparents come over at night. Like, well, I guess I'm not going to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like the NFL is flying too close to the sun. And part of the scarcity of it, which is such a big reason why it's become must-see TV,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're losing some of that.
You have the one day to watch the games, and then Monday Night Football was a big deal because it was the primetime game that everybody could watch because it was on ABC. And like, we're not going back to the 70s. Like, and nobody's asking for that. We weren't alive in the 90s. We're not asking for a return to that. But my broader question is, like, who is this good for?
Apparently it's good for this texter on the 785 who is calling us.
Yeah. We can address that. We can address that. But no, the idea of playing on all of these holidays and all of these exclusive TV windows, right? Like, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have 10 different, I think, network/providers who are going to broadcast an NFL game in 2025. If my counting is right on this, you have NBC, you have Fox, you have CBS, you have ESPN, you have Netflix, you have Peacock is going to have an exclusive game. You have ESPN Plus is going to have an exclusive game. You have Netflix,
Amazon Prime.
I say Netflix. The Amazon Prime's got the Thursday night games, and YouTube. That's 10. That's 10 different services, broadcast outlets that are going to have a place to broadcast in an exclusive window for them. That's their exclusive time to broadcast. NFL Network. I forgot about them. Yeah. That's 11. 11 different. And
did you count ESPN Plus?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and there's no denying that the willingness of those streaming services to pay for those games and those exclusive windows is putting a lot of money in the NFL's pockets. I just want to know how that's good for the consumer. How's that good for us? How does that make the product better? Do you think that makes the product better? Because I don't think it makes the product better. I do not think that the NFL benefits from having a bunch of Thursday night games or teams playing Saturday, Thursday at the end of the year. I don't think that was beneficial for the Chiefs. And I think it would have been really extra not helpful to the Chiefs, that 3-game and 11-day gauntlet, if they hadn't gotten the number 1 seed, gotten that bye. Because you know who didn't look great in the playoffs? The other teams had to play that schedule.
Yeah, the Ravens and the Steelers and the Texans.
Yeah. So I understand why this is all happening. I understand the international games and everything. Like, I get it from a business perspective. I just don't know how that affects me. Like, what is my benefit as a fan from now we're cannibalizing Christmas. We want your entire Christmas. We want your entire Thanksgiving, and we want Black Friday. We want your eyeballs every single day. We want to be in your face 365 days a year, 24/7. Who benefits?
I mean, I said it at the end of this past season. It was the first time that I can remember when I was like, okay, I'm good for the break. Like, I'm ready to take a pause from thinking about football for a little bit. And I jumped right back into it. I was listening to draft stuff for a month leading up to the draft, and then, reading NFL stuff every day. Like, I live for that. Like, the NFL is my sport. It always has been. I love professional football, but there is a degree of like, okay, this is a lot. And the other thing too, we're going to get another game at some point. They're going to add an 18th game,
sure,
without question.
Yeah.
JB has a comment here on YouTube, which I think does a good job.
This is a really good point.
I think this really does a good job of summing up what I was trying to say. It says, I've noticed Sundays aren't as fun as they used to be. You'd always have a compelling, interesting game on. Not so much now. That is one thing late in the season when you play, you've got Thursday games, and then you throw in a Black Friday game, and you have the Saturday triple header plus Monday night. Now they do late season Monday night, or later season Monday night doubleheaders anyway. You go from having like 12 games or 11 games on a Sunday to you got 8 games, which is a lot of football. And like, hey, I'm not going to complain about that. But the problem is like, oh, there's maybe not so many good games on. Ryan has a comment here too. Says the only thing better than football is more football. So like in terms of the sport, I agree. Like Here's probably the hypocritical part of this. I'm going to watch.
Of course.
We're all
going to watch.
Everybody's going to watch.
That they're worried about.
As I've said, the dope is stepped on. Like the quality of the product is not as good, but we're all still lining up to drink it. We're all still lining up to watch it. We're all going to be there. We're all going to be there in front of the TV. I'll be there 7:15 Christmas night. I'll be rushing my kid to bed. And I got to watch this Chiefs game.
I would just prefer personally, and again, we're all entitled to our opinions here. I would just prefer it be less spread out. That's what I'm getting to here. Because there is a lot of it. And that's great because I love it. I live for it. But it is very, very spread out. And I don't know that that's a good thing.
And the comments on this, the reaction to this is all over the place. Ryan, the YouTube comment says, I'm fine with the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Comment from
I will say I'm glad it's a night game. Yes. I prefer, if you're going to do, like if you did one game on Christmas and it was always at 7:20 or something, okay, fine, whatever. Like that's fine.
Different JB in the YouTube comment says, I hate the Chiefs Christmas game stuff. Night game too. It'll be brutally cold. That's
true.
That is
probably will.
Point. Yeah, might going to be a chilly one for sure. From the 785 Christmas Day games, candidate for What Is Wrong With You. Also says this is the NFL setting up the 18th game eventually. From the 913, as long as we have Mahomes, we're playing every Christmas. I don't know about that. I mean, the Chiefs have said that we want to play on every Christmas, and the NFL said,
we want to be the Christmas version of the Cowboys and Lions.
Right. They've said that publicly, and the NFL, and it's been reported, has pushed back on that a little bit. But Mahomes is a drawing card. Like, they're going to be whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving, Black Friday, they're going to be in some kind of preferred exclusive window because the partners are paying a lot of money, and they like number 15 in red.
And it's a very open secret the Chiefs are going to play in the Brazil game this year. Week 1, Friday night. We'll get to that later. Week 1, Friday night, they are almost certainly going to play the Chargers in Brazil. A couple years ago, the first Amazon Prime game, Thursday Night Football on Prime. Remember that game? It was Chiefs-Chargers because you got to get Mahomes. And I get it, man. Like, he's the biggest star in the game. He's, at this point, a worldwide celebrity. I get it. But I can also understand, like, oh, my God, why are we, as a Chiefs fan, why are we always in the unique window? Why? I understand that, Greg.
Sure. That is again polarizing. We got opinions from all over the place on this one. Some people really into it, really excited for that to be a part of their Christmas day. Other people could take or leave it. I don't love it. We want to hear from you. 785-272-9429 is the text line. We'll come back and do What Is Wrong With You before Michael Swain joins us for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk? Brought to you by State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle
Mo!
Insurance and Financial Services. Give Mo a call today, 785-273-1572. 2 new stories today, trying to take down our current weekly champion, a story I have dubbed, "Thank You for Shooting Yourself at Walmart." About a guy who shot himself at a Walmart in Miami. 2 new stories. Brendan, you go first.
All right, we're going to Nebraska, where a 25-year-old man is behind bars on a pair of felony charges for allegedly hitting a female neighbor and that woman's 7-year-old daughter with a lightsaber.
Oh, boy.
Aiden White struck the girl while she was playing with other children in the front yard of her Auburn, Nebraska home. I've driven through Auburn, Nebraska many times. When the child's mother, Sandra Lunsman, 37, confronted White, he yelled at her, quote, "I'm not in the mood. Get back in your bleeping house." White then allegedly charged at Lunsman, wielding his lightsaber. Aiden struck Lunsman on her right arm and shoulder, according to a sheriff's deputy. Both Lunsman and the daughter said they were in pain following the strikes. 2 neighbors told police they saw White hitting the victims with the lightsaber, which was a higher quality device, approximately 3.5 feet long, according to the deputy, and could have caused significant pain and injury when used to strike an individual. White confessed to the attack, saying it was unacceptable behavior for which he wanted to apologize. And while cordial with cops, White, quote, would have profane and angry outbursts that included him blaming the victims for a rise in his rent. He also warned of future problems for the woman and her child. The lightsaber was seized by police. He's being held in lieu of $50,000 bond.
Yeesh.
He's also been ordered to stand a competency evaluation. You know that's not a real lightsaber, right, Aiden?
Thank goodness.
You're not Yoda.
No, you are not. The Force is not strong with you.
I do wonder what color it was.
My story today, we're going to Raleigh, North Carolina for the Mother's Day Melee at Big Ed's Restaurant.
Hell yeah.
There were shots fired around 11:50 a.m. on Sunday. 3 people were injured. A fight broke out. 2 people were transported to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries related to the fight. A 3rd person suffered a graze wound at Big Ed's Country Cooking. The 2 gentlemen who have been charged with assault, 23-year-old Alexander Barnes and 51-year-old Jermaine Mitchell, face charges of assault with a deadly weapon. The men share an address in Wake Forest. Police did not say how or whether they are related.
Oh.
That's not how you want to celebrate Mother's Day, man.
No, that's not great.
No, it's just throw down at a...
I bet you Big Ed's is a wild place, though.
Throw down at a family restaurant. Yeah, well, judging by the reactions in the story, it's not the kind of place you normally see, like, Pier 6 brawls break out.
Okay.
Particularly not on Mother's Day. So who wins today? Lightsaber guy or the Mother's Day Melee?
I'm going to go with the lightsaber here. He hit a child first.
He did.
Why is he hitting children?
But... I'm going to vote for that today, but I'm going to give my weekly vote to the Walmart shooting.
Yeah, we'll stick with thank you for shooting yourself at Walmart. That will continue on for another day. Feels like a beatable story. I think we can get it later this week. But for now, thank you for shooting yourself at Walmart as our champion on What Is Wrong With You. Sponsored by Mo, State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Michael Swain joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael covers the Jayhawks stem to stern. Become a VIP subscriber at 24/7 Sports and get all the latest and greatest inside info on the Hawks. He joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael, some good news this morning for KU football fans. Joseph Credit, three-star linebacker out of Pearland, Texas, is committed to KU. Why is this a big deal? What is Joseph Credit going to bring to this Jayhawk roster when he matriculates in the class of 26?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at the linebacker position for KU, it's not one where, KU has consistently had high school linebackers break through yet. There's guys that are kind of starting in Logan and John Kamara, but that's a position that I think has been a weakness for KU's defense in recent years. And then you look at what KU's done by adding Joseph Credit and someone like Josh Galbraith from Lawrence. I mean, it's an athletic tandem. It's a tandem when you think of Galbraith, right? You think of the length and just the natural ability he has to play the linebacker position. And then you got someone like Credit who plays for a really competitive team in high school, I should say, in Texas. Has really good track times, went to camp, looked really good in camp, and I also saw, someone like Galbraith in camp, and, I thought Credit looked just as good as him. So, I think for KU, really building out this linebacker room with guys who were really good athletes. And then over time, right, teaching them how to play in the scheme, the things that they're asked to do. But can you go find guys that can run fast and hit hard? And that's exactly what someone like Credit does. So, for Chris Simpson and the linebackers coach, it's been a good cycle. He was only going to take two linebackers and, he got basically the top two targets. Galbraith is someone they got committed early. And then obviously Credit they had on campus for the official visit in April. And he was one that they were really dying to get, and they're able to get things over the line. And I'll add this finally. You look at the offer list, right? I think that's something that sometimes, look, it can be overlooked. But I think sometimes when you look at these offer lists, you see a lot of Power 4 offers. But what are the in-state schools doing? Like if you're looking at a local kid from Kansas, and KU and K-State don't offer him, but another school, comes out from the East Coast and offers him, you're going to think like, well, man, what are they doing? Well, you look at Credit, and he's got offers from Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor, SMU, right? Basically outside of UT, it's the Texas schools you want to have offers from. So I think, pillar to post, I think it's a really, really good addition for KU.
You mentioned Josh Galbraith, the Lawrence High product, who's also committed at linebacker for the Jayhawks. How can those two complement each other? What's the vision for the future with those two guys in particular?
Yeah, I think it's athleticism. I think that's really the first building block. And then it's just getting guys that, okay, so we talk about Galbraith. He's going to take maybe some time, I think, to get the instinct down, right? The see ball, get ball aspect of things. But man, when you watch him on the football field, he's got the length, he's got the size, and he's got the athleticism. And so you could see him playing an outside linebacker role where he's playing in space, where he gets to play downhill, maybe blitzing off the edge at times. And then with Credit plays, I think you could easily see him playing, just general feel for the game. I think, look, either one could play the outside linebacker spot. I think, Credit maybe is more long-term. If he gets up to kind of 230, 235, I think he could be a guy that plays the Mike position. Very similar, I think, size-wise to Cornell Wheeler. So I think for those two, you could see them definitely being a tandem. You could see them both playing that outside linebacker role. I think it's a pair that I think you could see some versatility with.
Michael Swain is our guest. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. If you're not a VIP at 24/7 Sports and Fog.net, you are missing out on all the best insight into what's going on at KU Athletics before anybody else finds out. Michael joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. The future of the linebacker position at KU, Michael, how is it going to look different when we see Credit and Galbraith and, the next wave of defensive players get to KU? How is it going to look different? And I guess this applies to this year too, with the change of defensive coordinator this year.
Yeah, so I think you're really going to see KU move away from the three linebacker stuff. I think you're really going to see KU embrace kind of the 4-2-5 look. And let's be real here, guys. KU basically played 4-2-5 last year, with Marvin Grant playing that kind of extra defensive back role. I think finding now linebackers who are athletic and can play downhill and can play in space is going to be really important. I think you could look back to kind of the first group of transfer linebackers Lance Leipold brought in. It was Eric Gilliard. It was Lorenzo McCaskill. Guys that were just stiff, so stiff, couldn't move. But if you got them in a phone booth, right, they could hit somebody pretty hard. I think you're seeing KU really move away from that style of linebacker and much more to be your modern. Can you get some guys that are in that kind of 6'6" to 6'3" range and can run? And you're seeing that. You can look at, guys in the portal like Bengali Kamara, who KU got. I mean, he's going to be one of the best athletes KU's had linebacker in a long time. And man, he looks the part. You can look at Trey Lathan too, right? He's got good size and good range as well. So I think generally, right, KU's pivoting away from, I think, some of those big bulky linebackers and more getting into some of those guys with more size and range. And I think just generally, man, the linebacker position, it's been rough for KU. It really has been. And I think just getting more guys who can make plays, can be in the right gaps, like it's just going to be such a huge difference for this defense when you're not worried about your linebacker being 2 gaps over and all of a sudden, but Scadboo's got, a big gap to hit and it changes the game. Those are big moments. And I think KU's linebacker position has a lot of room to grow. And I think they're taking the right steps with the guys like that.
Also this week for KU, Joseph Credit committing from the high school ranks, not the only big move for Lance Leipold's group. New tight end as well into the fold, and you'll have to correct me on the exact pronunciation of this young man's name, Michael. Bowden Gruen?
It is Gruen, I believe.
First of all, do you know the exact pronunciation? And secondly, what is KU getting in its new tight end who's transferring in from Rice?
I don't. I think Dan got it right there. I'm still trying to figure out. I think there's a clip going around. I think the guy butchered it on the clip. So, that's the
Michael,
issue.
let me tell you, man, that is a nightmare for people who call games.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I can't even imagine, guy. Like, I don't want that job. But yeah, so look, you lose Kean Burnett, right? A guy who has all the talent in the world, right? Would have been a really good receiving target for KU. Size, athleticism, like I had him as a guy that maybe could be looked at as a potential NFL prospect. I'm not sure if Bowden is exactly that, but he's got the production. And you look at what he did at Rice, what is it, 3rd leading receiver in the AAC, 2nd leading receiver on Rice's team, period, in 2023. He had an injury last year that kept him out, but he's a guy that's going to offer some of that receiving threat. And so you've got Sean Hanukkah, you've got someone like Leighton Cure, who's known as maybe more of a blocker, and then you've got someone like Bowden who can go in and offer some of that receiving threat. He's played as an inline tight end where he's attached to the line of scrimmage. He's also played out of the slot. So I think he's going to offer KU some receiving versatility because, look, KU installed stuff in spring for 2 tight end sets with 2 receiving tight ends. And so adding someone that can fill into that role and have some of that skill set, I think is really important. So, look, we'll have to see what happens. I think it's you never know with these guys that come in the summer because they don't get that spring. It's going to all come down to the first 2.5 weeks of camp. Can he get it? If he does, he'll be a part of the rotation. I think he'll be a productive player probably for KU. If he doesn't, it's depth, and it gives KU an experienced person who can go in and create more of a barrier between kind of your Hanukkah and Cure, and then someone like Carson Broom is coming through the pipeline.
We're joined by Michael Swain here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. You had reporting on your ex last week that Dama Sar came in for an official visit to KU. Where is KU and Sar on potentially committing to the Jayhawks?
Yeah, it's been a pretty good question. I think KU's in a good spot. I think you look at Dame Sar. I mean, if KU gets it over the line, there's potential having 3 first-round draft picks on the roster next year. Darren Peterson, Floyd Badunga, and then Dame Sar. He's got all the talent. And you look at the Nike Hoop Summit, what he did there, really talented player. And I think he would fit what KU has in the roster right now. Obviously, he was rumored to be maybe trending towards Illinois for a while. Oregon was in the mix. I think Duke for probably a good week was probably KU's biggest threat, but coming off the visit, it doesn't sound like he has any intentions of taking any more visits. You guys are smart enough to know what that means. So it may take another day or 2, maybe. We'll have to see. But I think this is one that probably gets over the line at least by the end of the week. And at that point, then I think you're looking at KU and in the roster they have, there are some really high-profile players. Like I mentioned with Darren and Flory. Then you've got some experienced role guys and, Melvin Council and Jaden Dawson. I think it's a roster that looks a lot better once you add someone like Sarr compared to a roster that you don't have a talented player like that on it.
One thing real quick, Michael, you made quite a leap there, estimating the intelligence of this crew in studio. So I'm flattered, but a little bit of a stretch there. So what does Sarr bring to the table? If in fact KU's able to get this over the line, we'll talk about it. What does he like? What is the selling point, I guess, on why Sarr would be such a big ad?
Yeah, so I think we start here. Darren Peterson will be the star on next year's team. There are no two ways about it. He will determine how far Kansas goes. Now that that's out of the way, you've got to find guys that fit. And the best part, the thing I love the most about Dame Sarr, and you're projecting him to the college ranks, is he played for Barcelona, right? The second best team in Europe as a role player. That's a really big part of this, because you look at high school guys coming out, and unless you're going to be a Darren Peterson, you're going to have to learn to play in a team construct. And as we've seen over the years, that can be really hard. I'll use a guy like MJ Rice, right? Guy had all the talent in the world, but just couldn't play in a team construct. And what has Sarr done this spring? Well, he cracked the rotation as an 18-year-old, playing against grown men, again, in the second best team in the world. Like, it's just incredible what he was able to do, and the fact that he was producing at a high level, right? Over 12 points a game on over 50% shooting from the field, 3 rebounds, maybe assist and a half, something like that in about 15, 20 minutes a game. Like, it's legit production. And then you project that to Kansas. Well, Sarr's not going to need to have the ball in his hands, because he's a guy that can create in terms of his slashing. He could be a good catch and shoot guy. I mean, if you look at his video clips from Barcelona, I mean, most of his 3-point attempts are from the corner off catch and shoot. Like, he is a guy that can fit around a team. If you're saying you're building this thing around Flory Badunga, Darren Peterson, pick and roll. Well, what's the type of guy you want to have off that? Well, a guy that can cut off the ball, a guy that can catch and shoot, and a guy that can provide you some athleticism. And that's exactly what Dame Sarr does. So I think just on paper, you love every bit about it. Now, of course, you're talking about a guy that has lived in Europe, is going to have to move to Kansas, right? That can be a culture shock. It may take some time for him to get acclimated. There are other things that are part of, additions like this that, maybe don't work out. But I just think you look at the basketball player on paper and you compare it to what I think this team needs. And man, I really do think it checks a lot of boxes.
When you look forward to next season, the schedule's starting to take shape as well. They're going to be returning to T-Mobile Center for a game this next season.
Yeah, playing Missouri, right? The last game of the of that series, man. I'll take that question somewhere else. I'm really interested to see if they renew this. I'm not too sure they will. That's something that I'll be very interested to see as non-conference schedules kind of continue to change. Obviously, it's one that gets ticket revenue. I think nowadays you're looking at teams really trying to drive the amount of ticket revenue they get as revenue sharing comes to college athletics. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Non-conference schedule. The Big 12 is going back to 18 conference games. That's not been officially announced, but Bill Self said it, and I believe that's what KU's scheduling around at the moment. And look, you're playing Duke in the Champions Classic. You're playing at Carolina, at NC State. You're playing Missouri on a neutral site, and you're playing in the Players Era tournament as well. It's going to be another year where it's just going to be an insane gauntlet of a non-conference schedule for KU, and that's going to make for a really interesting acclimation process for guys like Darren Peterson and potentially Dame Sarr.
A couple more questions for Michael Swain of Fog.net. This is Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. You're not kidding. It's a loaded non-conference schedule, and KU's taken a lot of pride in loading up their non-conference, playing as many marquee games as they're capable of playing. But do you think in this era of basketball where you are piecing rosters together over the spring and summer in the transfer portal, and you're getting guys in their first games as a group are being played in these high stakes, high visibility games against other quality opponents, do you think even a program like Kansas will look at their non-conference scheduling and say, hey, maybe we would benefit more by being a little bit more choosy about our tournaments, about our marquee non-conference games, and getting a few more bye games in to make sure that we're in a good position heading into the Big 12 schedule, which is a gauntlet in and of itself?
I don't, and you nailed it right there, because they're bye games. You have to spend money to get those teams, where if you're able to schedule some of these games, whether it be Duke on a neutral site, whether it be a home with an NC State or Carolina, that drives revenue. And home games in Allen Fieldhouse is one of the most valuable basketball games in the sport. And you can have much more expensive tickets. You're going to get a lot more butts in seats from students as well. And that counts for something because students buy concessions. I know concessions aren't a huge part of the revenue picture, but every bit counts. And so I think I don't think you're going to see a program like KU going in and getting, half a dozen buy games. I think KU's going to try and load up because of the implications of the financial picture. KU's got to generate a lot of revenue. We're talking $20 million. And yes, the football stadium is going to help. Yes, they're going to have donor support needed to get to that number, but I think they're going to be pretty smart and try and find extra ways to get more money. And I think that's going to come from the basketball schedule and having more high-profile home games, having some high-profile neutral site games where they can split the revenue, or having more games where, you might see this year, depending on how the rules change, some of those exhibition, quote-unquote, charity games. I think those exhibition games may turn into NIL charity games if some different rules are passed as the House settlement goes through. So I think everything nowadays for Kansas basketball, for Kansas football, for any college, it's going to be about driving revenue. And so I think most decisions these days are going to be made with that in mind.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, and joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great, guys. Talk to you next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk right after this. All right, thanks again to Michael Swain for joining us today. Lots of great insight from Michael. So much, in fact, that this is going to be an extremely short segment of 580 Sports Talk. So we get you set for the 5 o'clock hour. We got more headlines than we know what to do with, to be completely honest. There is a lot that we can touch on in headlines from a local perspective, from a national perspective. We'll do a playoff roundup. We are jam-packed on headlines in this next hour. We've also got a Royals preview for Game 2 of their series against the Astros. Matchup of left-handers tonight at Daikin Park between Chris Bubich and Framber Valdez. Again, pregame at 6:30, first pitch at 7:10 here on 580 WIBW. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk coming up next. Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk on a Tuesday afternoon, turn evening. Thanks so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. Special shout to everybody watching the live stream video today on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. If you're doing all 5 of those things at once, Excelsior to you. That'd be Sports Talk Yahtzee. If you've got a Facebook tab up with our stream, a YouTube tab up with our stream, 580WIBW.com open with our audio, and like 2 different radios, 580 AM, 104.9 FM. Take a picture of your setup if that's you.
If you
that would be so discordant in your ears because you don't have the timing synced up right. But
everything like a quarter of a second different.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, before I come on here, because most of the time I get on late, I will, while I'm doing stuff in the office or whatever, if I'm in the studio, I'll have you guys on with the button that allows me to hit 580.
Sure.
But then if I'm like in my office, like editing something or whatever, I'll throw on the YouTube, but I can sometimes hear you guys talking.
Yeah, like reverb.
And then like 5 seconds later, I'll hear it.
That's funny.
Because of the YouTube delay.
However you are enjoying the show today, we appreciate you being along for 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis with you. We are hanging out until 6. Then we'll have a little 580 Sports Talk overtime until 6:30, at which point we'll hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals going for a series win in Houston tonight behind Chris Bubich after a 7-5 win over the Astros last night. Not only would it be a series win in this 3-game set, it would also clinch a season series victory over the Stros. First pitch set for 7:10 tonight. We'll have it for you here, of course, on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll preview that game in a little bit.
I'm looking forward to it. After last night was a blast, especially for 3 innings.
Yeah, first 3 innings were a lot of fun. The last 3 innings, a little nervous, but
got it done.
Pulled out the 7-5 win. We will preview that coming up in a little bit, but we are going to start. We're going to hit the ground running with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We got a lot of ground to cover. We may not get to all of it. This is one of those days that we're going to have to set some things aside.
We got a long way to go and a short time to get
there. I had
there.
a whole thing I was going to do. I can tell you we are tossing the headline about Creed having a car in the Indy 500.
No.
Maybe we can bring that one back tomorrow.
Or Friday.
Creed.
We got
a
the whole
segment
week
on that on Friday.
I mean, look, we have the whole week until the Indy 500.
So, yeah, Creed, the rock band, popular when I was in middle school. They got a car in the Indy 500 this year, partnership with Sirius XM. Anyway, we're having to scotch that one today.
Well, there it is. You just read it.
There you go.
Well, there were jokes. We were going to do some jokes, and we were going to have some fun with it. But that's like we're tossing some headlines today. We are going to have to do that because we've got a lot of them to get to, including a playoff roundup. And we're going to start with the big one that broke just before we went on the air today. MLB won't reinstate Shoeless Joe Jackson. This from ESPN. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred has denied a request to reinstate Shoeless Joe Jackson, saying in a letter dated July 20th to the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum in Greenville, South Carolina, that, quote, it is not possible now, over 95 years since those events took place, were considered by Commissioner Landis to be certain enough of the truth to overrule Commissioner Landis's determinations. And also, quote, it would not be appropriate for me to reopen this matter. Oh, wait a second. That's a headline from 2015. Here's a headline from 10 years later from ESPN. Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, among players reinstated by MLB. In a historic sweeping decision, writes ESPN's Don Van Natta Jr., Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred on Tuesday removed Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. The all-time hit king and Jackson, both longtime baseball pariahs, stained by gambling, seen by MLB as the game's mortal sin, are now eligible for election into the Baseball Hall of Fame. In Cooperstown, New York, Manfred has ruled that MLB's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their deaths. In a letter to attorney Jeffrey Lenkov, who has petitioned for Rose's removal from the list, quote, obviously, a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game. Moreover, it is hard to conceive of a penalty that has more deterrent effect than one that lasts a lifetime with no reprieve. Therefore, I have concluded that permanent ineligibility ends upon the passing of the disciplined individual, and Mr. Rose will be removed from the permanently ineligible list. Rose, Jackson, the rest of the 1919 Black Sox, but Weaver, Eddie Saccott, Lefty Williams, Happy Felsch, Fred McMullen, Swede Risberg, and Chick Gandil, along with a bunch of other names you don't know: Joe Getty and Gene Paulette, Benny Koff, Lee McGee, Shufflin' Phil Douglas, Jimmy O'Connell, Cozy Dolan, and William Cox have all been removed from the ineligible list because all of them are bones in the ground.
Almost all of them were banned originally due to something related to gambling. However, Shufflin' Phil Douglas threatened his manager and got banned.
Yeah, that's kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
Metal.
I want to know all about Shufflin' Phil Douglas, including how you get the nickname Shufflin' Phil. That's a very cool nickname, to be honest. Sounds like a blues man.
It really does.
Like a 1930s blues guitarist. Anyhow, so the earliest that consideration could be had for either, well, for Pete Rose in particular, for the Baseball Hall of Fame would be December of 2027 if the Veterans Committee were to decide that he belonged on the ballot. Then the Veterans Committee would then vote, and the Veterans Committee is 16 people who have affiliation with baseball in the Hall of Fame. You need a 3/4 vote, so 12 of the 16 would then have to vote for Rose to be enshrined, for him to receive that honor. It will no longer be in the hands of the baseball writers. Earliest Jackson could be enshrined is the same summer of 2028. We want to hear from you on this. The YouTube comments on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can also text the program, 785-272-9429. Do not agree with this decision. I want to untie things a little bit, because I've been adamant that the steroid guys, if I can just go ahead and create a category for Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Alex Rodriguez,
we know
Rafael Palmeiro, the steroid guys. I am a firm believer that they belong in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. I think all of them belong in the Hall of Fame. Even the guys, like if you wanted to make an argument against Rafael Palmeiro, well, he didn't play a position. He had 500 homers and 3,000 hits. Put him in the Hall of Fame. I think all those guys belong in the Hall of Fame. So why is it that I don't think that Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, who, like the steroid guys, compiled career achievements that place them in the company of baseball's immortals, why should they not be in the Hall of Fame? And my answer is very simple. Every baseball player, everyone you've ever seen, everyone you've ever watched, if you've been in a baseball clubhouse, you walk by some rules that are on the wall of every clubhouse in baseball. And one of those rules is Rule 21. And it says, if you bet on baseball, you are banned for life. That is a rule that is in front of you, that is staring you in the face every time you walk into a baseball clubhouse. To decide now that Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, the rest of the Black Sox, let's throw them in there too, to decide now that they should no longer be punished, because that is what you're doing. It's a lame and cowardly way of going about it, saying, well, they're dead, so what harm are they going to do, right? It's the coward's way out from Rob Manfred, who will always take the coward's way out because he is at heart a coward. But the decision to unpunish them, to decide that their punishment does indeed have an expiration, is to say that that rule that is on the wall that everybody knows you have to follow, if you want to stay in baseball, if you want to have a career, if you don't want to be ineligible, banned for life from baseball, you don't bet on baseball. You sure as hell don't fix a World Series. And now we're saying that was, in retrospect, actually, you know what? Those guys, what they did wasn't that big a deal. Besides, they're dead. And I think that's ridiculous. I think that is the one thing, the one thread that holds sports together, that keeps it as something that we enjoy as an entertainment product, that separates it from Monday Night Raw on WWE, is the fact that the outcome is on the level. That is a real athletic contest and no monkeying around with the way the game ends. And if you lose that, you lose everything. You may as well be Monday Night Wrestling. And Pete Rose and the Black Sox messed around with the integrity of the game and stained the game forever in doing so. And they do not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. 1,000% I am against their enshrinement. I hope they never make it in. And I guess if they do, they're dead. They can't really enjoy it. I guess there is some cold comfort in knowing that that was the only thing that was important to Pete Rose in his entire miserable life. The only thing Pete Rose wanted was to get into the Hall of Fame. And now, even if he does, he's dead and he can't enjoy it. And I have no sympathy there whatsoever because he was a miserable human being, an absolutely wonderful baseball player, and a miserable excuse. And he won't get to enjoy this honor should it ever come his way. But that is where I separate the steroid thing from the gambling thing. The steroid thing, you can have your own opinion on that. I think that they put the commissioner of baseball who was overseeing the steroid era in the Hall of Fame and benefited from the return to the ballparks from people who loved watching Mark McGwire hit those dingers while he was roided out of his mind. If they put the commissioner in, they should put all the players in who benefited from that same era. But gambling is a different deal. It stains the game, and you can't put these guys in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Mark mentions that here on the YouTube feed. Bud Selig created that monster on purpose, but, the betting ban is a different thing altogether, and I'm in agreement with that. So the other thought I have, too, and I don't know that I'm quite as, if we have the exact same viewpoint, but, I think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. I do. I believe that. Alex Rodriguez probably too. The difference here is, yes, it was against the rules. It was illegal. You shouldn't have taken the steroids. Still got to hit the ball.
Yes.
The pitch is still coming in. You still got to hit it.
Go through the list of guys who got suspended, for steroids. There are some guys on there who aren't anywhere close to being Hall of Famers. Right. If Barry Bonds had retired in 1998, he would have been a slam dunk Hall of Famer.
No, I agree with you on that.
And there weren't any rules. We have a texter from 75 asked, well, what rule do the steroid guys not break? There weren't rules. There were US anti-doping rules, but Major League Baseball never had a rule explicitly banning performance enhancing drugs. Everybody knew Canseco in the late 80s was on him, but nobody could do anything. There weren't any rules. As long as he passed the drug test, there weren't any rules that could keep him from doing what he was doing.
I am a believer as far as the Rose and Joe Jackson thing. And, Shoeless Joe's story is one of the old, it's like a true piece of Americana mythology about, Shoeless Joe, was he actually innocent? Could you possibly be innocent if you knew all this stuff was going on? That's its own thing. As it pertains to Rose, who has been the lightning rod here, even taking his personal life out of it, I don't think he was a pleasant guy, but I'm taking that
There
out
are
of
a lot of unpleasant guys who
are in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Sure. He's the all-time hit king in Major League Baseball specifically. He has the 4,000 hits, all that, Charlie Hustle, all of those things. I understand it. There's a rule, as you said, the point I agree with more than anything else, there is a rule that has been on the wall of every clubhouse forever. You do not bet on baseball, and the understanding that you do not bet on games that you are involved in. To me, that is disqualifying. And we've talked about this particular thing before. Banned from baseball brought to you by FanDuel, right? Guys, we are just never going to agree if we are not able to see the difference in that. I have a belief that there is a firm difference in advertising partner versus a guy who's playing literally cannot bet on the game. And if you disagree, that's fine. We don't have to agree.
And we have a couple of texts from the 785 pointing out Rose never bet as a player, only as a coach. First of all, you sure he never bet as well? Why is that not as bad? I'm curious. I'm asking those of you who have texted that in from the 785, and you're welcome to respond. Why is it not as bad to bet as a manager as it is to bet as a player? It's almost worse.
Yeah, because as a manager, you're making the decision of who's going out there.
Yeah, who plays, how you use your bullpen, how you use your starting pitcher when you take him out of the game.
It's worse.
It could be. You could argue it's worse.
Yeah, the thing here that becomes interesting, because I disagree with the decision personally, and again, we've had very fun, spirited discussion about this today, so I appreciate everyone who's chimed in on it. Now is, will anybody vote? Because it's not going to be the writers. You mentioned this earlier, Dan. P. Rose is not going to show up on the BBWAA ballot for this year. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a different committee. The Veterans Committee or somebody else is going to be the ones who vote on this. P. Rose was not well liked by his peers. Will anyone be willing to say, we're going to put that aside and vote him in? The history of baseball in the Hall of Fame indicates probably not. Babe Ruth was not a unanimous Hall of Fame pick. Only one guy ever has been. It's petty. It is full of grudges and all of that. He might not get in anyway. So, that's its own kind of, indignity. But there is an element of this, even if you believe that he should be in the Hall of Fame. There is an element of cowardice, in my opinion, from the commissioner here that, you're dead, so you can't enjoy it, and now we'll put you in. It's taking the coward's way out, in my opinion. And that to me is a negative reflection, really, from two different angles of Commissioner Manfred here.
There are also these 4 paragraphs, which I will present without comment, but absolutely led to today's news. This from Don Van Natta Jr.'s reporting. Again, I will present these without comment. Earlier this year, President Donald Trump announced he planned to posthumously pardon Rose. Trump didn't say what the pardon would cover. Rose served 5 months in federal prison for submitting falsified tax returns in 1990. During an Oval Office meeting April 16th, Trump and Manfred discussed Rose's posthumous petition for reinstatement, among other topics. Manfred later declined to discuss details of their conversation. On Tuesday, today, Manfred called Trump, who was on a state trip in Saudi Arabia, and Forbes Clark about his ruling, multiple sources told ESPN. So one of the first people to know about this was the president of the United States. I guess that's a comment. That's a fact, but no further comment on that.
Why don't we continue on with our 580 Sports Talk headlines?
Yes,
then?
Please.
This one is politics, but it is local, and it's a story we have been covering fervently for years at this point. From the reporting of the Kansas City Star, multiple journalists there, Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe rolls out a plan to keep the Chiefs and the Royals in Missouri. The governor of Missouri pitched the plan to Missouri House Republicans on Tuesday morning ahead of an anticipated floor debate on the proposal later in the day. Don't have any updates on it to this point. A 2-page summary of the plan obtained by the Kansas City Star that is circulating among lawmakers says the team's stadium investments could be eligible for tax credits worth up to $50 million. So what it comes down to, without all of the very specific details here, the state of Missouri is planning to offer tax breaks as well as various other credits and funding to help build new stadiums in Missouri. What is included here that is interesting and has gained some steam in stadium circles recently is they would not prevent the Royals from possibly building in Clay County, North Kansas City, as opposed to staying in Jackson County. That has been a major sticking point, as we again know very well from all these discussions over the years. They would allow the Royals to build in Clay County if they wanted to. This is just to keep them on the Missouri side of the border. From news to editorial here, my personal opinion, they ain't coming to Kansas. I genuinely believed for a while that one of the teams would. I really did. I do not think that is going to happen. I think one way or the other, either through tax breaks or just the raised taxes for the Jackson County or just Missouri residents in general, I think one way or another, they will find a way to get updates or a new Arrowhead Stadium and a new ballpark for the Royals on the Missouri side of the border.
The one that always made the most sense to move across the border was the Chiefs, and Missouri doesn't want to lose another NFL team. Even if it is just over the state lines, Missouri really doesn't want to, I believe, go through that.
I'm with you on that.
Again, real quick, before we get to another headline from Spencer here, I thought this was an interesting perspective from a text from the 785 about the Rose thing.
Sure.
And an opinion that, again, I had not considered this as a thought. The texter asked, I feel Rose should be in. He was never proven to have bet on games. He was a player. He earned his right as a player to be in the Hall of Fame, but since he bet as a manager, he shouldn't be held out for his on-field credentials. Shoeless Joe bet while as a player should not be allowed in, period. So the Dowd report did reveal that there were bets made while he was the player manager of the Reds, and he did admit in his book that he bet on baseball as the manager of the team. And he had been like a lifelong, this was a lifelong thing for Rose. He went to the horse tracks with his dad as a kid, and that's where he got the bug for gambling. And he filled in on the NFL Today for Jimmy the Greek once.
Yeah.
Pete Rose was about it. So I have a hard time believing he did not bet on baseball as an active player. If he was so about it that he was giving you point spreads on the NFL to a level of knowledge that they put him on television, I have a hard time believing that he did not bet as a player. And again, the Dowd report found that he did bet as a player manager. So that is the evidence I can give you there is from the Dowd report. But appreciate again the perspective and interesting conversation from the text line and from the YouTube comments. All right, Spencer, give us a headline.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 ESPN related headlines. We'll start first with the local tie. As ESPN, I believe we talked about this on the show before during headlines. ESPN, Disney Plus, and Skydance Sports are going to debut a first look at The Kingdom, a multi-part Chiefs docu-series. It explores the franchise's storied history and remarkable modern-day dynasty, as well as taking you through unprecedented access to the 2024 season. That's coming to ESPN or ESPN Plus this fall. Also, ESPN making it known after, I guess it was yesterday, they said they're going to name their new app coming out just ESPN. They have announced their new direct-to-consumer offering to be singular branded as ESPN. Basically, this means if you are going to cut the cord, you can buy a package that gives you ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN News, SEC Network, ACC Network, along with ESPN Plus, because you've never been able to do that before.
Yeah, don't have to have a cable package to have it. So it's going to cost $30
a month.
Or I believe it's $30 a month or $300 for the year if you get an annual package.
And then
you can bundle it with Hulu and Disney Plus.
Yes. Yeah. But then they've also redone ESPN Plus, and that's be $11.99 a month.
So here is I don't want to say issue, because I get, my wife and I, in fact, we're pausing our YouTube TV. We said, you know what? I'll find a way to watch the rest of the NBA playoffs. Like, I'm only watching baseball anyway the rest of the summer. Like, we'll bring it back for football season. We'll save some scratch during the summertime, right? It is so all the streaming TV services are so expensive. YouTube TV is like $30 more a month than it was when we started. Hulu live TV is expensive. Everything is expensive. All the different over-the-top services, direct-to-consumer services you can buy now. We were talking about this on the show the other day, in fact, with the congressional hearing about all this. It's going to be $30 for the ESPN package. Fox is also releasing one soon that's going to have FS1 and Big Fox, FS2, all that, their news channels too. And that one is expected to cost somewhere between $20 and $30 as well. It's $10 for the basic level of Paramount Plus, which gets you CBS. You got all the other things, if you want to watch NFL games, baseball, basketball, whatever. You put all of them together, it costs almost as much as a cable package or a streaming TV package. It's just so pricey. And I thought about this. Well, most of the channels I watch are, the ESPN networks, because I'm watching sports most of the time. I don't know. Is it worth $30 a month? I'm not sure. I have not convinced myself that it is at this point, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
that is a lot. That is a lot, but you get a lot. Like ESPN Plus has always been worth it for me, but my wife and I have cable. Like we're still doing the cable thing, and the benefit of that for us is as Cox subscribers here in Topeka is we get the Royals. So
yeah,
I'm not.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not letting go of cable. And frankly, the benefit of the streaming services at first was they were going to be cheaper, right? It's going to be a cheaper alternative to the streaming services. And now if you want to pay for all the streaming services, you can do it. You can cut the cord and just have because the Fox is going to roll one out now with their live offerings.
Yep.
So they were kind of the last holdout of the networks.
And it's going to be pricey too.
Yeah. So you can pay for Paramount Plus and ESPN,
Peacock,
and
that's the one I forgot.
Hulu
Peacock.
Live, or you can get all of the sports, but it's probably going to cost you more than just getting a cable bundle, especially if you get, the introductory pricing on it.
So I've had Hulu since I was in college, as I got it as a part of a student deal,
right,
with my Spotify.
Yes.
So
I used to have that too, yeah.
When it changed, I don't know what happened, but I still have Hulu, and I'm still paying just the regular Spotify cost because I was grandfathered in.
That's pretty nice.
I am using that forever, but I always forget that I don't pay for Hulu, and I use Hulu all the time.
Let's do one real quick K-State football headline before we get to the playoff roundup. The theme days have been announced for the K-State football home schedule, and the kickoff time has been announced for the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. That, of course, is the season opener, week 0 for the Cats against Iowa State in Dublin. That'll be a familiar kickoff time, 11 a.m. Central on ESPN, as the Wildcats and Cyclones open their season in Big 12 play across the pond. There will be more game times for non-conference games announced in the coming weeks. As far as the home games theme schedule, August 30th home opener for the Cats against North Dakota will be a stripe out. Appropriately, Fort Riley Day will be held on September 6th when Army comes to town.
Nice.
Ag Day will be September 27th against UCF. Homecoming October 11th with TCU in town. November 1st, Harley Day against Texas Tech. Then, of course, the home finale against Colorado on November 29th will be Senior Day. Let's get into that playoff roundup.
That sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
The playoff roundup comes along with the other big sports news of the day. So we'll start in the NBA. Another second half rally lifts the New York Knicks to within a win of the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a quarter century. They take a 3-1 series lead over the Boston Celtics, but the win overshadowed by the fourth quarter injury suffered by Jason Tatum. The Celtics star, revealed to have torn his Achilles tendon, has already had surgery to fix the injury. That all but ends the series and has dramatic implications for the future of the Celtics, and by virtue of that, the entire Eastern Conference. The Celtics were already facing down some difficult financial decisions they were going to have to make. They're being sold, so they're getting new ownership in 2 years, going to have new owners that have control of the team. They were tight for budget against that second apron that no owners want to pay because it's particularly punitive. And they were going to have to make some hard decisions as is, and now their best player won't play next year. And it wipes out that playoff run as well. And all but ensures, again, barring a miraculous comeback by a Celtics team missing its best player, that the defending NBA champion will not have reached the conference final since 2019, when the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors went back to the finals after winning the 2018 title, but of course suffered a whole bunch of injuries and lost the finals to the Toronto Raptors. Injuries, once again, having a major, major impact on these NBA playoffs, to the point where it sort of feels like the last team standing is going to be your champion.
For sure.
Much more so than maybe your best team just being the healthiest, getting your guys to the end of the line. And older teams who've made longer playoff runs, the Celtics, Warriors, the Nuggets, dealing with that fatigue, dealing with the injuries that they've had to deal with, and younger teams, maybe not as accustomed physically to the rigors of the playoffs, maybe having a little bit more juice for those late runs into June. Speaking of the Warriors, they lost at home to Minnesota last night. The Wolves up 3-1 in that series out west. Tonight, Pacers try to close out the Cavs in Cleveland, and we've got to, say it with me, pivotal Game 5 in Oklahoma City tonight between the Nuggets and the Thunder. That series tied at 2. I am terribly nervous about that game because it kind of feels like whoever wins that series is going to win the title. Whoever wins that series will be the best team left.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And would be the title favorites. And I think whoever wins tonight's game is going to win the series. And
I think that's
so. Fair. This feels like Game 7 of the NBA Finals for me. I got those kinds of nerves. Over in the NHL last night, Edmonton took a 3-1 lead over Vegas with a home win. So too the Carolina Panthers Carolina Hurricanes, in their series against the Washington Capitals. Spencer, backs to the wall for the Caps.
Vibes not good. Vibes very bad. Also, I just want to say, last night was like the single-handed worst, 4.5 hour stretch of time in DC sports realm. The Nats were handed the game from the Braves, and then the Braves walked them off. Not to mention, a little bit after we got off the air, the Wizards were robbed of the number 1 overall pick, or second or third, be given the fourth or the
fifth,
the sixth pick.
Yes,
and the 3 teams that had the best odds are picking 4, 5, and 6.
Yes.
Somehow the Dallas Mavericks, who
the NBA rigged the lottery,
yes, the NBA rigged the
team
lottery.
that alienated their fans for a generation by trading Luka Doncic now get to draft Cooper Flag.
Yeah, conspiracy there, but
it is the most rigged NBA draft lottery since the Knicks got Ewing. I firmly believe that something fishy happened.
But yes, not only that, the Capitals got embarrassed last night in Carolina, and their backs are against the wall. Thursday night, Capital One Arena in DC.
Hey, look, all you got to do is win a game 5, put the pressure on them in game 6. You can come back
Yeah,
to 3-1 down.
I just hate that game 6 is going to be back in Carolina because I don't know I don't like the vibes in Carolina for the Caps.
Tonight, the Dallas Stars will look to take a 3-1 series lead against Winnipeg in Dallas. Before we take a break here, familiar with the music group Alabama, folks?
Indeed, I am.
A little mountain music. They used to play that 7th inning stretch Coors Field. Mountain
Nice.
music by
That's a good
Alabama. Yeah, that is a good one. That's a really good song. Alabama's coming to the Azure Amphitheater, Bonner Springs, Kansas. Alabama live in concert featuring Lee Greenwood, May 23rd. Why am I bringing this up on a sports talk show? Why am I talking concerts? Why am I talking music on a sports talk show? I happen to have a pair of tickets for that concert. May 23rd, Azure Amphitheater, Alabama featuring Lee Greenwood. And I'll take caller number 2 to 785-272-9429. I'm going to send you to that concert. Caller number 2 if you want to go see Alabama, 785-272-9429. The band, not the state. We're not flying you to Tuscaloosa. The band at Azure Amphitheater, 785-272-9429. Caller number 2 wins the tickets. We'll be back with more 580 Sports Talk next. Speaking of the NBA draft lottery, it's 5A Sports Talk, 539 on this Tuesday. One day when we have time, we're going to go ahead and lay out the drafts are immoral and should not exist in sports take.
I mean, I like the draft. I like drafts, but that argument is there are valid backings for that argument.
I like drafts where the team that sucked the worst gets the number 1 pick. But
yeah,
I
like the straightforwardness of the NFL. Yeah, you're the worst team, you pick number 1.
I don't like the sensationalizing of tanking necessarily. I think there's teams that, like, I'm not a Wizards fan. I was a little bit when John Wall was there, but like they're trying to rebuild. Like they are trying to build a team that could win, but they need to through the draft. And they aren't getting helped by the system that the NBA put in place.
Here's the thing. A couple of years ago, the NBA changed how they do their lottery. And instead of the worst team having the best odds, the 3 worst teams all have the same odds of getting the top pick. And the idea was this will disincentivize tanking because now it does not pay as much to be the worst team. You know what it's actually done? Made more teams tank.
Yeah.
Well, also, I'm
It's
pretty
made
sure.
it worse.
I'm pretty sure that the Mavericks got into the lottery on like a technicality or something.
Well,
They won a coin flip
Yes.
with
Yeah.
the Bulls.
Yes.
Because, that's something that makes sense. The future of the NBA, it's very smart to have that hinge on a coin flip.
You win the
Very
coin flip.
wise.
Yeah. Like, come on.
I could spend the rest of the show complaining about the freaking draft lottery.
it's a one-player draft, maybe two if you really like Dylan Harper, maybe three if you love VJ Edgecombe. Everybody else is like future six-man. Enjoy Cam and Malawak in a Wizards uniform, Spence.
No, don't draft him. The Bulls need a center.
I'm not a Wizards fan, but I was kind of hyped if Cooper Flag was
You gonna buy back in?
I mean, you pair him with Koulibaly and what they're building, given another year.
Maybe they could win 50 games for the first time in my lifetime. Not yours, Spencer. Mine.
Yeah, and Dan's old.
I'm old as hell relative to y'all. Anyway, wanted to get this Royals thought in. We were going to touch on this yesterday and kind of blew by it. But the Royals right now have two players on their roster who probably shouldn't be on the big league roster. One of them is Angel Zerpa, who we talked about him yesterday. I really thought this was going to be a big year for Zerpa to establish himself as a left-handed power arm in the Royals bullpen. It hasn't worked out. Like, the stuff is still there, but the results are not. And he, I think, would benefit from a AAA refresher. The Royals are fortunate they could go down and get Evan Sisk, who's been really good down at AAA Omaha, had an impressive big league debut with the Royals, give them another left-handed option that would essentially assume the same role as Zerpa right now, because you can't put Zerpa in high leverage.
Nope.
Right this second.
No, you can't.
So if you bring up a young guy, okay, maybe you don't trust Evan Sisk right away, but maybe he can earn his way into the circle of trust. He's a little old. He's a late bloomer, 28 years old. Old, again, is relative here. But they could go and make that move, and I think that they'd end up in a pretty good spot. The harder question is what to do about Hunter Renfroe, because that's not a big leaguer right now.
No.
And the Royals bench is obviously not world-beating by any stretch of the imagination. I've heard some talk about giving John Rave a look. He's never been to the bigs. It would be the first call-up for the 27-year-old. He's down to AAA, hitting 279, OPSing 876, 6 home runs, 19 driven in, 12 out of 13 in steals, left-handed bat, which to me makes him a little bit more interesting than like a running him out there instead of Kevin Biggio in the outfield, I think is appealing. Nick Lofton's another option. He's got a 926 OPS. He's drawn 30 walks to just 17 strikeouts. But the thing about Lofton is we saw him in the big leagues last year, and I just don't think he hits the ball hard enough. Like,
might just be a quad A guy.
Yeah, he might just be a quad A guy. There's not a lot of hard contact with Nick Lofton. Like, it's one of the reasons why, like, I don't think that Drew Waters has a higher level to get to than where he's been at right now. It's just kind of a league average bat with some good outcomes. Because you just don't hit the ball hard enough. I don't know that answer is down at AAA. Nick Prado isn't hitting a lick. Joey Weimer, who they got in a trade in the offseason, he's hitting a $149 with 2 home runs. That hasn't panned out. Hitting Harold Castro is hitting 275. He's 31 and only plays really the infield and really only second base. I don't think that's a road you want to go down. Tyler Gentry's not hitting. They've had some guys hurt. Dairon Blanco obviously has been hurt. So I don't know where you go with regards to Renfroe yet, because there's no like for like, oh, go get a right-handed bat and give this guy a look. Nick Lofton be the thing, but the other part of for Lofton, he hasn't played a lot of outfield either. So, yeah, it's unsatisfying. I know it's an unsatisfying conclusion to say the Royals need to replace Hunter Renfroe. If we all agree that Jack Caglione needs a little more seasoning, who are the options to go replace Hunter Renfroe on the roster right now? There just aren't really any good ones. I wish there were. Nelly Velasquez hitting a $193.
I totally forgot that he was still in the organization.
Yeah, that's
until I just saw his name.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen for Nelly, unfortunately. I think that one's probably not going to pan out. Yeah, I mean, this just kind of comes back to the discussion we've had so many times over the last couple of years that, I mean, the mismanagement of the end of the Moore era just left the minor league cupboard completely bare, which honestly makes what J.J. Picollo has done to build this major league team that much more impressive. That you haven't had a lot of guys who you can just call up and say, hey, you're going to be an impact player. It's honestly pretty incredible. So that is obviously unfortunate. I don't know what you do with Renfroe. Honestly, you probably have to keep rostering him for now just because he's a big league player. But I would be at least open to the idea of calling Lofton up. And I know he hasn't played a lot of right field. Maybe that's a disaster. Not everybody can do it. And I know he doesn't make a lot of hard contact. I mean, can he hit like 190? Because that would be well above Hunter Renfroe.
Can he get on base? I mean, is there anything to the fact that he's drawn 30 walks and 145 plate appearances? That batting eye, can he at least bring that? Because at least that's what Kevin Biggio is giving you right now in his bench roles. He's at least giving you a decent batting eye, give you a pro at bat. All right, Hunter Renfroe's not giving you that. What was the other day? He got blown away by that. Was it Crochet? When was that? Where I think it was Crochet. It just blew him away in a big spot. Just shouldn't be out there. And again, not an easy fix, which is unfortunate.
I don't know who this is, but I do know he plays all the outfield positions, and he has a pretty good batting average in what seems like a lot of plate appearances. John Rave?
Yeah, we brought him up. Left-hander, 27 years old, never been called up. The fact that he's left-handed, maybe, with Renfroe being a right-handed bat, you want to replace a lefty with a righty. But like as far as like best performers in the outfield, he'd be the next one up. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk next. Royals and Astros tonight here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9 as we round the turn on 580 Sports Talk. Game number 2 of the 3-game set. Royals going for a series win and a season series win over the Stros. 3-1 now over Houston this season after last night's 7. Chris Bubich gets the start. He took the loss when he faced Houston at the K. Gave up 4 runs on 5 hits in his 5 innings pitched, including a home run to Yordan Alvarez, who we know he will not face today because Alvarez is on the 10-day IL. Framber Valdez threw a complete game against the Royals back on April 26th. Gave up just 2 runs on 3 hits, but ended up taking the loss. His last 2 starts against the Royals, 15 innings, 2 runs on 3 hits. 7 no-hit innings last time he saw the Royals back on August 30th of last year. This year's been a bit of a struggle for him, though he is coming off of his best start of the season, 7 innings of 1-run ball at Milwaukee. Battle of lefties tonight. Can the Royals get a series win? They're going to do it. They're going to do it with this lineup tonight. It'll be Bobby Witt Jr. back in the field and playing shortstop, and he'll bat behind Jonathan India, who's at second base tonight. That's the first time this year we've seen Jonathan India at his natural position.
I believe you're correct about that.
Mark Canha will bat third in left field. He's been really bad since he came off the injured list, but they're going to try and get him going against the lefty tonight. He's in left. Salvador Perez DHing again. Michael Garcia at third, batting fifth. Vinny Pasquantino moves down against the lefty to bat sixth at first base. Freddie Fermin catching, batting seventh. Hunter Renfroe in the lineup tonight. Speaking of guys trying to get going, he will bat eighth in right field. Kyle Isbell bats ninth in center.
Indy actually has played 2 innings of second base this year already.
So this will be his first start
Yes.
of the year at second base, coming off a 3-hit night last night. For the Astros, Jeremy Pena is at short. Jose Altuve will DH. Isaac Paredes is at third. Christian Walker's at first. Yanier Diaz behind the plate. Jake Myers had a big night last night. He's in center, batting sixth. Cam Smith bats seventh in right field. Brendan Rodgers, Rocky great, at second base, batting eighth. Chas McCormick is the left fielder, batting ninth.
I think the Royals get it done. I'm calling a win.
Bubic has been really, really good. It's
been awesome
of late, and it's all righties. 9 righties in the lineup for the Astros tonight. So that makes the changeup certainly a much more important pitch. But Bubic has been really solid. Like his even his splits against right-handers have been certainly fine so far this season. Hasn't been a big issue for him. So I would anticipate that he should be able to navigate the all righties lineup for the Houston Astros. Not really an oops, meant to do it, but want to give you quotable numbers on those lefties. Right-handers actually hitting worse than lefties against Chris Bubic this year.
That is pretty crazy.
558 OPS for righties, 647 for lefties.
That's nuts. Can he keep it up?
I think he can. No reason to think he can. I mean, the Astros could hit a couple of pop flies in the Crawford boxes and ruin your day. I mean, that's
sure
part and parcel of the Daikin Park experience. I know how to say it now.
There you go.
I'll take a timeout. We come back. We will wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk right after this. We are wrapping up 580 Sports Talk. There will be some overtime, so let's get to these final words. Spencer Dupuis.
Yeah, the Royals came out on top last night. I think it was a fun beginning of the game to watch, but you didn't think that you would need the 12th save this season from Estevez. But I do like the fact that he was ready to go last night, because I think when you get into a mindset as a pitcher, sometimes you're like, oh, we're up 7-0. We're good. We're gonna roll in this game. and then maybe you don't have a great night because you're ready for the next day. I think it's good that break glass in case of emergency things there for him as well.
Final word, Brendan Wierzinski.
We didn't get a lot of time to talk about this today because, well, we don't talk a lot of NBA on the show, but we mentioned it a little bit earlier on this hour. It is very, very dumb to determine your draft with a lottery. It doesn't make any sense. And if you are one of the rubes, and I'm not going to insult any of you guys in particular if you feel this way, but the notion after last night's NBA draft lottery that, man, the NFL needs this. It'll get tanking out of the NFL. Can you show me an NFL team that tanked since Andrew Luck's the year before Andrew Luck was drafted? Can you show me one? The Dolphins tried it, and it didn't work because that's not how the NFL works. More leagues don't need it. In fact, fewer leagues need a draft lottery. They're dumb.
Final word for me. Rob Manfred redefined the word permanent today in one of his latest moves as the commissioner of Major League Baseball. The permanently ineligible list no longer exists. You want to be eligible after being ruled permanently ineligible by Major League Baseball, go ahead and die, and then your permanent ineligibility ends. That is the essence of the ruling made today that reinstates, among others, Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson. I do not believe they belong in the Hall of Fame because I believe that the rule that they violated should have the kind of punishment that comes with permanent ineligibility, and that is permanent blacklisting from baseball's Hall of Fame. If you allow no consequences, if you lighten consequences for people who bet on the games that they play or manage, you tear away at the thing that makes sports legitimate. And delegitimizing your sports is basically making it pro wrestling. And none of the major sports, no sports anywhere, should aspire to that. We got overtime coming up. We're going to re-rack our conversation with Michael Swain for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael Swain of Fog.net. You'll hear that next, and then you'll hear Royals baseball starting with pregame coverage at 6:30. We're back tomorrow at 3 for Brendan and Spencer. I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.